and then that will show the link, and then I can post the link because StreamYard doesn't do it right. Hey, everybody, if you can hear me, give me a 5x5 and let me know that you can hear me okay. Edward, you're always in and out. We got to do a catch, a catch together there. Good. You can hear me. Mark, can we hear you?
Yeah. Can everyone hear me?
If you can hear Mark, let him know. Just say we hear your Mark 5x5. That'll be good. And I'm going to post this link in the background. Mark, if you could, I think they hear you good. If you could let everybody know who you are, how you got into the Vegas thing, and how we met, if you want, and the truck, if you, I'm sure you're going to bring that up, and we'll go from there.
Oh, I think we covered the truck the last time I was on the show, but yeah, I still owe you for that one. So how did I get involved in 1 October? So I was writing a book, well, I'm still writing the book on the evolution of mass shootings in America. And with that, I was looking at the 1 October mass shooting because obviously it's the most deadliest in the US, and was, want to include that in the book. However, as I was looking through some of the case files and everything else, there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there about these ninjas and helicopters flying over and God knows whatever else. But there's more evidence out there which contradicts the official narrative. So I put the one book on hold, and that's when I contacted you, Mike, to see what you knew, because you seem to be one of the authorities on the case. And then we've gone from there, and we've met in Vegas, we've met in Florida, pushed your truck for you because it was a piece of crap.
Hey, that was given to me by a survivor. Come on now.
Yeah, but come on. I mean, let's be fair about this. It may have come from.
I know, it was fun. That was the first time I'd ever done that. So yeah. I think it was you.
Have you still got that truck?
Oh, of course. It runs great.
So, then we did a live show when, because obviously the book close to coming out. The thing is with myself is I've gone more in depth, I think, than most people have, because I've not only spoke to some of the victims, I've also spoke to several people that were involved in the investigation. One of them being one of the senior investigators who gave a lot of insights. So I've had to re-alter a chapter of the book just to suit what I was told, because he's now retired and I think he's at that point where he's ready to talk. And so, yeah, that's basically where we are today. So,
and just so everybody knows, is there's still some areas that we have to be a little bit careful about. So when you see us pause and hesitate, we're not trying to hide things from anyone. We're just trying to make certain that we don't mention someone's name if we don't have that permission to do so, or what have you. So just bear with us as we get through this, and as Marcus says, because there will be some times where we have to pause a little bit and be very careful about not only what we say, but exactly how we say it. But one thing you're going to get on this live that you won't get pretty much anywhere else in the LV community is direct access to the information from either myself or Mark, meaning that the information you're getting is factual and it's there. We don't do conspiracies. He doesn't do conspiracies. That was one of the first questions he asked me was, hey, if you do any of that, I don't want nothing to do with you, and so forth. So that's an area, and I think everybody knows that. But Mark, what do you have for us tonight that you've come across here recently?
Okay, so first I'd like to say hello to Cial, because she just said hello to me.
Oh, hey Cial. Yeah, she's there.
Yeah. So hi Cial. I would comment, but I don't think I can put comments on you. So where are we now? I'll start with the big one. The 32nd floor 100 wing is now back open for business. I was at the Mandalay Bay. Christ, Mike, when did I phone you? 3 weeks ago?
About a week, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
And I was doing my usual rounds, as we normally do when we go. and come to the old fire door, and there was no sign on there any longer. There was a door handle. It looked very nice, very very clean and tidy. And on my route, because I think the last time I was on the show, I exposed a new route of Campos, which again I'll come into, and come back up on the 32nd floor on a different tangent from one of the guests from one of the other stairwells, and turned the corner, and there it was in all its glory. So literally just wide open. The camera is still there. With one of my sources, I actually found out the camera doesn't work. It's a dummy. It was just put there to stop people from breaking in, basically.
The camera that he's talking about you're talking about the one that's right near the vending area, pointing it towards.
Yeah. It's the only one in the hotel on the guest floors. Yep. It was put there basically because after they pull up the door, people try to access it, and they put up a false camera to basically, to stop people from breaking in. So yeah, that's one of the big news is that So are they renting? If you physically go down the hallway, they're renting all the rooms on the. Yeah, okay. Let me just share a screenshot.
Okay.
Photos. I will. Where did it go? I put some pictures on here earlier on. There we are. I have done a little video so everyone can watch it. It's about 7 minutes long. Let me just put that up there.
And just when you share the video, there's a button that I forget, and a lot of people do. It'll say share audio as well. So if there's audio with the video, make certain you hit that button as well.
Oh yeah, there's audio with the video. So let me just share screen. That one. So everyone should now be seeing.
I think I have to approve it here. Let me approve this. All right, I'm adding your.
Okay, so that there is the old doorway to 32135.
Hang on, let me get it. There we go. Okay.
That's the fire door. These are the famous exit signs that were blown off in the explosion. These are the old light fixtures. So.
Can you zoom in on that?
Yeah, certainly. In fact, they've made that such of a good job of it, you can actually see the join of where the old doorway used to be. Right there. And then there's another one just over here. They've put a picture up for God knows whatever reason. So that's where the little foyer area where the wall went in. Okay. So I've done a nice little video, which I think I'll share with everyone later on, not just now, which actually walks the whole of the floor, walks Campos's route up the floor to the fire door. I also discovered, let me just, I'm not gonna.
So while you're doing that, I'm watching the chat, so I'm gonna kind of handle that as well. So the what you're looking at there is essentially a fake wall or a real wall that's over. That's
the old doorway to 134.
There you go. So the doorway to 134, if you look closely, it's just a keyed lock now. There's no like the old lock that was on there, which had the card keys that you do. Hey Roger, how you doing? That's gone. So that door is locked that way now. So I believe they're going to turn that. Weren't they? What they told me a while back was they're going to turn that room possibly into a storage room of sorts, but that hasn't been done yet. I don't think.
No. That is the 100 wing hallway. The camera that Mike was on about is, let me just zoom in. You can't see it because it's the wrong angle.
Mm-hmm. It'd be on the wall behind
just up here. That's where the old doorway was put in to stop people from accessing. But as you can see, the very end of the hallway. That's the location of 32135, 134 to the right, 32133 to the left, which is still a room, and people were renting it, as you will see in the video.
So normally when you look down this hallway, you would see the French doors, the two double doors at the end of the hallway, and now what you see is what you see right here is probably a butterfly picture again.
Yeah, it looks like a butterfly picture already. Didn't
that's their ongoing theme for that.
Too closely. And I don't know if anyone's noticed yet, but it's actually the same carpet. They've never replaced the carpet. As we spotted when we were looking at it.
Right. You want to say anything about the carpet, or you want to keep that to the chest?
That one's down to the chest for now. Okay. I think I may get sued over that.
Okay.
But needless to say, they didn't do a very good job of the cleanup. The only thing they really did was cover up the holes in the walls, because the FBI had actually completely cut sections of the wall out.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much everything else was just left the same.
Yeah.
They've replaced the fire door as well. I don't want to click off this picture because there are pictures on here I've been given by various people who were up on that floor in the immediate aftermath and took pictures, and various pictures from inside the room which no one's ever seen.
Okay. You want me to remove your feed at the moment?
Remove that one. I'll see if I can find a better one, because I've got a better one of which shows the area.
If everybody remembers when on the ABC the Nightline show, when they showed the hallway, how it had the holes that were cut out in the walls and stuff like that, they were when Laura Loomer and I went in to that area, in the rotunda area, there was a wall behind that, and if you were looking straight down 100 wall, the hallway, you would see into this one room. So the painters are there painting that room, and we both kind of like took a peek inside. You could see there was one or two holes that were there. But
so if you share the screen again, Mike, I've actually got a better picture up that shows.
All right,
there you go. So that's 134. That's the old doorway to 135, and the foyer door is just there.
Yeah,
on the left-hand side. And I mean, in the video, I have morphed some pictures on there, so you can see that the carpet's exactly the same. I also do take a rant on Campos, why you didn't see the carp, because for the first time, people can actually see how close he really came.
I think that chandelier thing is different as well.
I don't know. Let me just see if I can get an old crime scene. No, I believe it's this. It might have been a square one. No, exactly the same, Mike.
Okay, cool. All right.
Let me just. If you stop sharing my screen a second.
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, no problem. I pull it. There you go.
Let me just go to my.
No, Michelle, they do not rent that room. The room 30, we'll just call it 34 and 35. Neither of those rooms will be rented probably ever again.
No, I believe there is no way they're going to rent them.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. They're not storage yet, Bear. They're still in a. Man, I'd love to say exactly what I want to say right now. You know exactly where I was going to go.
If you share the screen again, Mike, and then you can see it from just after the door was blown off, and there you go. So that's the light fixture, which is still partly, it's either the same or a new one, because it looks like there's a bit of scorch marks on there.
Mm-hmm.
They may have just cleaned it up. In fact, I found out this sign here is still the same. Still the same as everything else. But as you can see, I mean, the doorway was pretty big, and they've just literally put a piece of sheetrock over it, or plasterboard, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you don't really get you don't really get the sense of how close Campos really come to this door until, I mean, you can see it on body cam, but until you're actually on that floor and you're literally within feet of the door.
Yeah, it's a little, I'll admit, because I'm pretty, I don't believe in ghosts or, I don't believe in anything really. But there was definitely times when I felt pretty odd. And when going down the other hallway that looks just like this hallway, even you feel kind of odd as you're walking towards those double doors. And that was when I was on the 200 wing.
Yeah, go and stand by that room. You'll have an even odder feeling. Trust me.
Well, the room, remember where you and I stayed, which was just below this room. I put some of those pictures up. I think some of the people here saw it.
Yes, I'm going to say, there's someone who's asked about the stairwell. Yes, it is still in use. So yeah, that's the stairwell is still in use. I've just recently posted a video on my new YouTube channel, which shows me actually extensively in the stairwell, going up and down and testing all the Campos' theories.
Okay. What I'll do is I'll post a link in the description. I'll have to edit it, and so if you just send that channel back.
I think I've got one subscriber. So let me just stop sharing my. I think I might have. You stopped doing it. Okay.
Yeah, no problem.
So I'm dealing with all these screens. I've got to try and find my mouse because it sort of gets a mind of its own.
Turns into a rat.
Yeah, just start running around the screen. I can't find it half the time. So I think the third swing we come on to actually is something that we would discuss in for about 4 hours.
Can we add you back to the stream?
In a second, let me just get the. Let me just get the.
Now, if you guys can give us a, so we come up in the algorithm, give us a thumbs up if you can. That would be greatly appreciated. Share this to your pages if you can. That way people can come in, and we're going to do a Q&A session where you guys can ask basically any questions you want on the whole thing. It doesn't have to be just about what tonight was. You want me to add that there, Mark?
Yeah. So do you want to So this is that famous footage, Mike, that me and you were looking at for probably 3 hours.
Yep. When I called them on.
Yeah. So
I have that call. I'll send you. Remind me to send you that call. I have that call.
So there's always been a question about the time, and you'll notice just here where the timestamp should be.
Yeah. Let me turn that feature off there. I'm gonna hang on just a second. Let's do brand, and let's do. That way you can see the full screen there. Let's see if this will be a thinner one here.
Okay.
A little better here.
That's enough.
Yeah. The first thing that the bells and whistles that went off with me was the semicolon.
Yeah. Yeah. It just doesn't look right. It's so out of place.
Yeah.
In answer to I am too bare, I can neither confirm nor deny what's in that room, but there's absolutely nothing in there. From what I recall and from what I was told, the adjoining doors have been fully removed because one of them was blown off by LVMPD, which was taken as evidence, and they've just left it open so they can still access 32135. But anyway, so back to this footage. So me and Mike spent quite a bit of time looking at this because, again, if you look here, you've got a comma and then suddenly there's no time, but then you've got an artificial timestamp right here.
Right.
And the same goes, that's Campos leaving the elevator. Now, this is the guest elevator, which is quite, I can't get this time bar off, but you'll notice there's an artificial time here.
I'm going to do this so it shows the whole thing here. That might be better.
There you go. And there's the timestamp, which is here, is masked. You'll also notice there's something quite odd going on with the date just here. You can't really read it that well. And there's never been an explanation.
Yeah, let me get the comment off there real quick. Hang on, let me see if I can do that. Comments, and how do I turn that off? Hang on.
And yes, that's Campos coming allegedly into the 33rd floor guest elevator. Yes, Michelle, it was altered. So it was always claimed by Mandalay Bay that the Palco system, which is an internal security system, had an issue with the time sync. On a model, on a forum, I did track it down, but it turns out that the Mandalay Bay system didn't start acting up until the morning of the 3rd. Any footage relating to Campos or the time he was wounded, surprisingly, has all the timestamp masks with artificial timestamps superimposed on them. They've never given official comment on that. Bear in mind, this is elevator P18. Okay. Now, the shooter on the morning of the 1 October when he left the casino actually used the elevator to the left-hand side of this one. And all of his timestamps were never masked. So it's quite odd that suddenly, once the shooter finishes using the elevators, they suddenly have a problem.
Wait, P18 is the service, the 6 service elevators that are on that?
No. This is the guest elevator bank.
I got you. Okay, got you.
Okay. In fact, if you go on virtually every floor that services these elevators, the numbers have been taken off them, which is quite unusual because if you look at all the other guest elevator banks,
right,
they've still got the tag numbers on. How I found out that which one was which is on the beach level, every elevator's got the number on apart from P18 and P17. Okay. So it doesn't take a genius to work out which one's which.
Yep. Yeah, that says right on
order of the numbers.
That's why when I saw the ABC thing when he was on S10, because the service elevators on
that'd be this one.
That's 11. Yeah, that's that one, S10.
That'd be this one. So this is one that brings you out on the 200 wing. I've confirmed that by this image right here.
What's weird is that they said no. That not you mean the 300 wing that comes out.
No. This brings you out on the 200 wing. I've confirmed that because
where at?
Here, on the 200 wing, it's about 3/4 of the way down.
Well, the 200 wing is because that was like I did like 50 times. That's the 200 wing is when you have the bank of 6 elevators. I was told when I made the phone call about where S10 was, they told me that S10 is behind the restaurant downstairs because the service carts and the food carts, that's the elevator they use to take that up. So when you see 5410, that's their way of saying that's S10, the service elevator S10. And they told what they said to me was it comes up on the 300 wing.
There is an elevator that does come up on the 300 wing in the linen closet, or what looks like a linen closet.
Yes, correct. That's correct. That's what I was about to say. This isn't them.
Right. This is the elevators that bring up on the 200 wing, because Campos's first room to check on the 30th floor was about 3 doors away from the service elevator.
Okay.
So why you would use a 300 wing to go to his first door is, well, nothing really makes sense with...
yeah, we're talking Vegas now.
So yeah, Roger, I'm just looking at what you're saying. There was a question about the sinking. And what that refers to isn't the actual camera footage, it's the audio recordings of the radio transcripts, because they believed that the controller had figured out that the time was wrong on the audio stamp. So they used a Palco system. They don't identify which one.
Right.
To basically set the time on the audio recordings, because it was a much older system, they could do that. However, as I found, me and Mike had a conversation the other day about this, and I chased it up with Motorola, who actually make the Palco system. Once the footage has been encoded, there is no way to change the timestamp.
Correct.
No way at all. Okay, so if this timestamp was a couple of minutes out, which is what they claimed, why didn't they just show it?
Right.
Because this timestamp here is actually nowhere near 2146, because there is a log that places Campos up on the 30th floor, at 9:37 p.m.
So effectively, they fabricated a time frame to fit whatever MGM needed it to
because it's critical with this timestamp.
Yep.
Because the shooter locked the door to 32135 around about 9:30ish, then locked the door to 134 at 9:47. Now, if Campos would have truly got off the elevators on the 200 wing, 30th floor at 21:46:28, there is no way physically for Campos to make it from that area to the fire door in 30 seconds. Okay? unless your name's Usain Bolt or they've got a teleporter. So they've had to fabricate the time to make it look like that Campos wasn't on the floor at the same time as the shooter. Not that he was part of the shooting or a co-conspirator like some people have claimed. There is a reason behind why they've lied.
And just so you know, Campos is a relatively slow walker. I've walked. Well, we'll just say that he's a slow walker. He's not exactly a speed demon by any means.
No, especially when it was the last call of the night, he wasn't going anywhere fast.
Or playing video games.
So, Edward S., if I will send you, once I post the link for my website, for the YouTube channel, you'll actually have a better understanding of what I call the three routes of Campos. Because according to LVMPD, he used the 33rd floor. According to Campos, he dropped down to the 31st floor. And again, according to Campos in his first ever police statement, he also dropped down to the 31st floor. So there's a reason to why they had to alter the time, because no one initially could figure out why it took Campos so long to go from the fire door back to the 32nd floor, sorry. However, what no one knew, not even the senior investigators at LVMPD or the FBI, was that Campos didn't use the elevators that night. So this footage here isn't from that night.
Nope.
Could have been impossible.
And the way it was easy to tell was they showed I have the original video from him going to the elevator, the S10 elevator, and you can see the bottles of vegetable oil sitting there or whatever.
No, I'm not about the. I'm
just saying this is to show you that they did that repeatedly.
So the reason this is either from several days leading up to 1 October, or it's from after 1 October. Because there are three independent witnesses which place Campos on the 31st floor 100 wing, then place him on the going between the 31st and 32nd floor 200 wing stairwell. So that footage definitely isn't from the 1 October. So there is a statement, I think, Mike, if you stop sharing my screen a second, I think I've already shared this, but there is a...
You talking about the hospital statement or the
hospital statement?
All right.
So if you share my screen again, Mike.
All right. Here you go. The folks, you have probably not seen this one before.
So this is Campos's first statement that no one ever knew about, which I've had independently confirmed by the former senior investigator, taken on the 2nd of October at 2:35 in the morning at St. Rosa Hospital in Henderson. And he's the only known security guard that was shot up on the 32nd floor. And if you read here, attempting to open door on 32 floor, 100 wing, it was blocked off, went down a floor to use another wing stairwell. No one ever actually knew about that statement.
Nope.
Not one person in the investigative team, either FBI, LVMPD, ever knew about that statement.
So this statement was taken at this is the first statement apparently.
This is his first ever statement.
Yeah, this is the first statement that he ever made. So this is the first time anyone's seeing this, guys. So
it got lost in a myriad of evidence, which when I saw it, I thought the investigative team knew about it until I spoke to the new contact I've made, and when he saw this, his jaw dropped and was like, if we would have seen that, his question on the 4th would have been a hell of a lot different. Why did he use another wing stairwell? Quite simple, Edward, because he was due to finish at 10:30. And by the time he would have got access to the 32nd floor was around about 10, it would have been at 32129 by about 9:50-ish had he taken the elevator. And it was quite common because it was a swing shift. So when they're bringing new guards on, and the guards like Campos who were still working, were assigned extra duties until about 11 p.m. As it was a Sunday night, he didn't want to stay at work any longer because he really wasn't going to get overtime. And so he basically took his sweet ass time to get back to the floor. Pretty much, yeah, Edward S. His shift would have been over if he would have wasted time, and it was really going to be over by the time he got back down to the lower floors. What does this mean now, Michelle? It changes the whole timeline. There is a reason to why they altered the timeline. Because it was mainly because they couldn't figure out why it took him so long between finding the fire door and getting back on the floor. However,
can you scroll down a little bit on that, just so we can, in the background, we can read the rest of what he said?
Yeah, I'm not moving it, mate. It's
okay, I got you.
This is actually on my website as well, which I'll send you a link for. And then you can obviously share it around the group. I'm doing an all-out assault on Campos right now, and I'm expecting to get sued very shortly, which I hope he does.
Because then you get discovery. Yay!
Yeah, then we get discovery. And then we get
that with Tom DeLonge. I've told Tom DeLonge at Blink 182, I said, so if you're upset and I'm saying something is wrong, sue me. Please sue me.
Yeah, no one knew about this statement. Had they done it, would have changed the whole course of the investigation into Campos, because he was taking his sweet ass time that night.
Mm-hmm. Now you got the time that he went between the floors. I may be jumping ahead a little bit, but
yeah, I've got rough times. So let me just open this up. So these are actually from my time trials. I'll do the calculations. So this is the official, what the official narrative states. And this is from Campos exiting the elevator to Campos getting to room 32129. Now the floor's open, we can do a more in-depth time trial, where before, you'd have to drop down another floor and try and replicate it, but now you can walk from the elevators up to the room. This is Campos's claim of elevator, as I call it, which actually would have placed him there at 9:57 p.m. had he got off there at 9:47 p.m. This is the hidden statement from Henderson, which places him there at 10 p.m. And this is based on the LVMPD narrative with him using the 33rd floor. And it's a bit coincidental where these three times are all similar or within 1 to 2 minutes of what LVMPD originally stated after they figured out he wasn't assisting the police. And he would have been at the 32129 between 9:57 and 10 p.m. Had he truly got on the floor at 9:47 p.m. But again, there is a log which coincidentally was actually used for the first two timings of the door alarm being activated and Campos being informed. So yeah, and there's a whole new timeline. There's a golden nugget I've got to keep quiet because I'm still waiting for confirmation on some other evidence.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of like we both want to say something so bad and we can't. And like with Michelle and Roger, they're still currently in a form of litigation, and they're looking for bits and morsels that might be able to help them as well.
Okay, so in response to Doug Popper's question, there's a lot I can say to this, but I've got to be very careful because of the way I was told it. So initially, the investigators never knew about it. They actually didn't know about it until I actually spoke to them a couple of weeks ago, because it was apparently suppressed, because it sheds a whole new light on the his route and how he got there.
And it's been pretty amazing because there's several pieces of documents that we've all seen, but and we remember it, but when you actually talk to the investigators, it's like one hand doesn't know what the other hand's doing, and they don't recall or go back to these documents, and it's mind-boggling how that's even possible. It's something we're not talking about. I don't want to diminish any crime.
No. The investigators, and I'll step in here, Mike, because I've made a quite good rapport with them.
Yep.
The investigators did the job they could do, but when you've got other influences, shall we say, it makes your job a whole lot harder. So it's a hell of a thing when they try to do what they could. So yeah, I just replied to Doug's question.
Okay.
I say senior investigators not knowing about this type of statement. I'm not a former police officer. I'm ex-military, so I don't know how the police run investigations. But when you speak to a former senior investigator of the case and they know absolutely nothing of this statement, someone had to have suppressed it somewhere. And that's all I'm willing to say right now.
Yeah.
Obviously, me and Mike, we spoke about it off the record, but so with the floor being back open, it allowed me to do a more accurate time study, not jumping between floors to try and figure it out. Now, what I'm going to do, because I need to go and grab a drink, is oh crap!
Kill it.
Yeah.
Not that someone couldn't watch this later and pause that.
Yeah.
At least it wasn't what one guy did, which was the last video he was watching.
Yeah.
You can imagine what that was.
Okay, Mike, I'm going to share the walkthrough of the 32nd floor.
Okay.
Video file.
So let that runs around. How long is that video run?
That's about 6-ish minutes.
Okay. And just make sure you click the audio button. There's a little radio checkbox to make certain that it does that. I see it coming up there.
Is a box checked? Because I can't see it.
Well, I can't see your box. It's on your screen. It'll let me see here. Yeah, it looks like you checked it. Let me add it to the stream. Coming in, and then you hit play. You want me to pause that?
It's up there for about a minute or two, so people have a chance to read it. So here we are up on the old 32nd floor, which is now floor 57. This is 100 wing, which is now back open. These are the elevators Campos would have come out of on the night of 1 October. This is the 200 wing. This is the 300 wing. It's crazy to think that no matter what's going on, this floor is officially open. The shooter's room has been closed off at the end, and a false wall has been erected. 32nd floor. That is what used to be 32135. 32134. If you look now, it's now a key lock. And they've just covered over the doorway. This is how close RVMPD were when they opened the foyer door. And here's an interesting point. As I was looking at the new fire door, just here, I'll get closer if I can. Right there is where the room service car would have been. Campos would have passed within 3 feet of it, but yet he still claimed he never saw it. That's how close it was to the door to 32135.
Okay, let me get this back on there. I will pull that.
Okay.
Michelle, just so you know, that camera was put on there after the shooting, and apparently it was a dummy cam anyway, just to deter people from trying to access that 100 wing. If that's the camera you're referring to.
Yeah, I just saw a comment from Doug. So when I refer to lead and senior investigators, typically I do that in a military rank structure. So there was a lieutenant, a sergeant, which would have, in my eyes, would have always been this. The lead would have been the lieutenant. The sergeant. The senior would have been the lieutenant. And then obviously down from there. Yeah, there was hundreds of officers involved in the actual investigation. But if you look on the, I believe it's the interim report, Trevor Alsop was the overall investigator in charge of the investigation in a sense. But
He was in charge of keeping all the books and statements and all that together.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah. I'm not. Yeah.
I'm just trying to find the statement, just the interim report just now. Do reports. So yeah, there were countless officers involved initially, but then the team was thinned out to, because it come to a point where there's nothing more anyone could really do. So then it was a question of how do they write the report, and the force investigation team were the ones that wrote it officially. And if you look on the front of the interim report, it gives you.
You want me to share that?
Yeah, you can share that if you want, Mike.
Right. It's coming.
Yeah, you can see this was a detective in charge of keeping all the books together. This was I would call the 2 IC of the investigation. This would be the 1 IC. And as I say, no one knew about the missing statement from Campos.
So, yeah, they weren't acting on the information that was in it. So,
No.
which obviously means if
It,
he didn't remember.
it was stated to me that if they would have known about it, there would have been a different way they would have interviewed him, because they knew there was a problem with the timings from the start. Again, that was confirmed to me. The question was, what was the problem? And it's basically what Campos discovered. Not just the fire door being secured, but the time he found it secured. The official narrative states he only had 5 to 10 minutes, or I think it says 5 minutes officially.
The missing 6 minutes that they talk about.
Yeah, then you got missing time on top of that. But there are there are other aspects which, is there? I can see one from I Am Too Bear. Nothing will change. Yeah, that's the one. Well, yeah, technically it can change if the federal government deem they have to reinvestigate because there was an active cover-up. If there was.
Just so you know, they pushed our FOIA request to December. So
yeah, I thought they would do.
Yep.
A lot of people are waiting on something to happen within various entities. And when that happens, I think this case is going to take a whole new tangent. Yeah, LVMPD have closed the case. It's like there was a question that I always had regarding why the behavioral analysis report stated that the shooter was trying to be more infamous than his father, because that was one of the motives pushed. And basically, it was confirmed that once the FBI figured out who Paddock's father was, that was number one on the hit parade of why he did it, to be more infamous than him. And then, as I pointed out to the person I was talking to, well, as you know, Mike, I've gone quite in depth in my research, which you've helped with on some respects. It was confirmed to us that the moment the father left to rob the bank in Phoenix and got arrested in Vegas, the shooter never actually interacted with him. So why would a guy want to emulate someone that he hadn't seen in over 50 years? So.
And in my talks, obviously, with Eric, the only individual from the Paddock family that actually spoke about that report in a way that would make sense was that was not the case, that they didn't even ask him any questions after the fact. Just so everybody knows, the BAU report is not even the BAU report. It's actually the FBI had the BAU come up with 25 people that they would hire on as a consultant, so to speak, and they came from different areas of expertise. One of which I actually knew, which I can't say their name because I think they still kept those secret. But anyway, it's a her, and she worked with victims of child molesting stuff like that. So they wanted to have that aspect brought out because of what they found on Paddock's computer. And so the information that they used to create that BAU report was strictly information that had already been acquired. They were not allowed to contact anyone to clarify information or to even garner information at all. So those 25 people came in and looked at all of the documents that were already done, reports and statements and what have you, and then they came up with their conclusion, which was that top 10 list, the top 10 reasons why Paddock did this. And it almost seems like they forced themselves to get to 10, and it's 2.5 pages. It was, I think when everybody saw that.
I think I've got Mike, let me just double check. I think I've got a copy of that handy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you want to, 2 seconds. Yeah, there you go.
Right.
Yeah. Now let me.
Share that.
Yeah. That one there.
And of course, you've got the video of me and Eric going over it. Let me hide that real quick. Hang on.
Yeah, I mean, this is basically the report. And it just, I mean, they've put this one in there. No single or clear motivating factor behind Paddock's attack. There is and there isn't. He wanted to take his own life, hence the reason he rigged up a security system so once the police closed in, he could take his own life.
Mm-hmm.
And this whole thing of a certain degree of desire to attain a certain degree of infamy via a mass casualty attack,
that just doesn't fit.
No, it doesn't fit his character profile.
No. What surprises me is that the profiler, the original, I'll say her name. The original profiler was actually a friend of mine. Her name's Susan, and she was one of the original profilers on that to see. And they all work. Just so everybody knows how the FBI does this. In most cases, is they'll have the profilers work separately from each other. They don't compare notes. And they will actually, you'll have maybe on a case this size, you'll have 2 or 3, maybe 5 even in some cases that will do separate profiles. And then those profiles are given to the field, like Aaron Rouse. And then they look at which way to go. That would be the case, obviously, if he was, if he had, stayed alive and had gotten away somehow, then they were trying to figure out who he was and where he went and stuff like that. So obviously in this case, we don't have that problem unless, of course, you're a conspiracy theorist and then you probably think he's still alive in New Jersey somewhere, at Atlantic City. So
number 5, yeah. Well, number 5. I mean, that really is quite accurate when you speak to
Derek.
Yeah. I mean, it was.
Well, we can play. Of course, it's an hour long, and I actually fall asleep during it because that was the day I left my employment where I was working. But yeah, of course, I guess everyone's seen where Eric and I did the interview and we went over that report. Let me get Pappas here. We would go down that list, and Eric and I were almost in exact agreement. Now, this we didn't compare notes. We just literally went straight down the list, and we were almost in exact agreement all the way down. But of course, the FBI, they interviewed Eric for a total of 15 hours, which was a combination of MPD and FBI. Yeah. Some of that was actually done at the airport. It was not actually done, in a facility, but it was done some of it was done at the airport. So anyway, those interviews were kind of at a time where he was irritated anyway. He came out there because several reasons. One of which was the door had been left open by the police at the house. Remember when everyone thought the house was broken into, and it was actually the door was literally just left open, and it was just thought that it was broken into. But so that being the case, he was kind of Eric. Speaking of Eric, was kind of in a state of mind that he did not trust what anyone said about anything because they didn't come to him. And it would make sense that if, you would extensively interview the brother of the shooter, and the only person that really had any lengthy contact with the brother would that would be it. You would have that person on speed dial, so to speak, and say, hey, did he ever blah blah blah, or was there an instance where he did this, and how would he respond to someone handing him a drink? All these different social cue things that you would normally ask, and they didn't do that.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the comment you've highlighted from Doug. Yeah, I mean, it's the truth. It will never be known. And yes, he did do it, and he did it alone. One of the things that I looked at was the conspiracy theory claims, because they're so vast. I think me and Mike were talking about when we were in Vegas, and we were just, the level of conspiracy theories was just strange and just way out there.
I've been there when I was originally going through this investigation from the beginning, on boots on the ground, and people coming up to me saying, hey, can you check on this and this? And wow, man, it just got more and more bizarre as time went on, to the point where I think Doug Papa was super irritated by it. I was irritated by it, and I just did not want to entertain any more thoughts of it. But a person standing in front of you, you kind of want to say, well, okay, I'll see what I can do. If I come up with anything, I've tried that before, or whatever. And then, it was just the media are part to blame, because there was a statement. I think it was when the evidence was released into the public domain. There was a statement. I think it was one of the local newspapers in Vegas ran with a story regarding some guy in a county lockup. And this guy claimed he had met Paddock in a car park outside a Bass Pro Shop. I think it was. He was spouting religious rhetoric or political rhetoric or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. But the guy couldn't even identify him. But the media ran with it. But what the media forgot to mention was this guy was in county lockup. And basically, if you read the whole statement, the guy was trying to get a deal, but he couldn't even describe Paddock. So that means I may actually be at a point now where I can show some emails. I don't think I've ever actually shown anyone the emails from Catherine Lombardo to me. And there was one instance where everyone probably remembers the guy Pedersen, where he made the claim that he played blackjack with Paddock. Whether or not, to this day, I can't honestly say 100% it's not true, or 100% that it was true. But there was a couple of key things that Eric told me that he essentially would never have done. Is one of which is he would never raise his voice. What in the hell was that? Feel like I'm in California. That was weird. Anyway, the ghost of Paddock. But and Mick West gets his poltergeist. I get whatever that was. So anyway, God, that totally lost my train of thought. I don't know if you guys could hear that or not, but that was pretty loud. What the hell was I talking about? Wow. I totally lost that. That was like really, I think I have a kid upstairs of what it is. So now I can definitely hear it. There was just so much disinformation being thrown about in the initial days of the investigation. Then when the evidence was released, people jumped on the bandwagon and looked at various statements which were unfounded. I went through all the pages of evidence just to see what was in there. And, there was just so much tripe that you had to cut through it just to see the facts of what was really going on. So someone wants to talk about just Campos. And that would be our Canadian friend, Alan Dion. Alan has been around. I mean, everyone in here really has been around since day one. And, it goes without saying, I guess. But he's a very staunch individual when he comes on to places where conspiracy theorists pop up, and he made it a intention to make certain that they knew his mindset, that he did not go for that. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's just, I think we were talking about that video, Mike, where there's a guy from Vegas who tries to claim Campos was an ISIS fighter and gets a picture of some guy off the internet in Campos and tries to morph it into him.
Right.
The reality is I do not like Campos. I do not support him. His actions are highly questionable, but he is a victim no less, so you've got to be careful how you treat him in some respects. But then in other respects, he's got a lot to answer for, which was never, asked of him. If you watch, there was an interview that David Hickey, who was the president of the union Campos was a member of, gave to Fox News. And basically, he told the truth that MGM were coaching Campos and what to say. And Tucker Carlson, were like, "Are you sure that?" He's like, "Yeah, he was basically genuinely being coached." My guess is the reason that he disappeared from that hotel suite just before he went to Mexico and dropped all the media interviews is because they offered him the deal that he wanted. Simple as. They separated him and Hickey because Hickey was the driving force behind it all. Maybe Hickey was trying to ramp the price up.
Well, he got. We have the amount. I think it's kind of been put out there. It's the amount that, as my understanding, was around $300,000, and he also received 2. They called them condos or what have you, but they're not. It's actually an apartment. I've been to the apartment. It's an apartment in Henderson is where he lives. I won't give the address out because something will happen.
So I'm just going to do something quickly, Mike. Now, when I was starting my initial early phases of my research, I came across a documentary by Nightline. And it was actually the first time I'd ever seen Campos close up on camera. Was
that the one that the killer on 32nd floor?
That's the one.
Yep. I'm very familiar with that one. That's the one where I called the producers. I had major arguments with them. That's the one I told you I got the phone call. I'm going to give you that, and you'll hear me basically pitching out Nightline.
Mike, if you share that script, there you go.
Yep.
This is what caught my attention right there. Not there. That's the. Where's a better shot of it? The earrings. He's got 2 earrings in. Diamond stud. And those actually come from a jeweler's within the MGM shopping complex. For a guy that's on $300,000 a year, there's a better picture. Oh, I thought there was a better picture. Yeah. If you just Google him, it'll pull up a boatload. But let me know before you switch screens, and that way I can turn this off. Yeah, I'm going to turn it off now because there was a lot of contention as in the beginning as to whether or not that was really Campos or not, or was that Campos on Ellen. And what I explained to people was I took one of Campos's pictures, and then you can in Photoshop you can actually mimic another camera, the lens. And so whenever you're looking at a studio lens that's used on a television type camera, the big ones that have their own dollies, those those cameras make you look different than, say, someone standing there with a 17 millimeter lens, 35 millimeter lens, 50, and so forth. Each lens is going to show a person looks, like right now I look pretty thin, or I could be like, like this. And that's just simply. I'm going to show you everyone how stage managed Campos really was. So
correct, Alan. It was a $300,000 one-time payment.
Yeah. So if you share that screen, Mike.
All right, here we go.
Right, I saw this on a video, and there was a guy that was going on about why is he wearing a Band-Aid on his head, and it didn't make sense to me at the time. But this was actually his award ceremony where he's labeled a hero and everything else by his union. And it wasn't until I was talking to the guys over at LVSA, and they gave me, let me see if I can find it. Mike, do you want to stop sharing that screen?
All right.
And they gave me, I think it's that one. Yeah. And they gave me this. So if you want to share it again now, Mike.
Yeah, and then wait till it comes up on my screen then.
There you go. So this is a crime scene sketch done by Officer, I can't remember the officer's name, Herring. Now this is obviously 32135, 32134, security camera cart, fire 133, and this is the foyer door. So Campos would have come out here and gone down here. The reason the plaster is on the head, or the Band-Aid is on the head, because if you look here, it's 17 and 16. Now, it's always been claimed that Campos was shot when he was hiding behind the wall in 122, 124.
Mm-hmm.
That's impossible, because even though there was strafe marks down the hallway,
right.
The wall here was not penetrated. There was fragments in the wall, but they didn't penetrate all the way through. However, there was questions about blood being found on the floor. And number 17 is the actual fragment that hit Campos on the calf. So he was that close to the shooter's door. That is literally about 10 and a half feet.
Yeah.
Number 16 was in a wall. Okay. And let me just zoom in on that, actually. So here's the two shots in question, 16 and 17. And the Band-Aid was put on his head because when they went to give the statement on October the 4th, the president, because it was actually done on this floor, his interview with LVMPD, noticed that there were bullet holes roughly about where Campos's head should have been on the wall. And he basically made him wear a Band-Aid to make him seem more brave. If that's not stage managed, I really don't know what is. But that's where the Band-Aid comes from.
Yeah, it was quite clear that the timeline. I think actually Tucker his words were that the timeline is being managed by MGM, and that's a very accurate description. That's what it was. I was talking about showing emails from Kathleen Lombardo. I think I could do that now, so I'll pull that up in the background and show the one because a lot of people were saying things like, well, you were just trying to put stuff in front of the lawyers and whatever, and no, the lawyers actually asked me to do things, and you'll see that. But we'll see here. Mark, what do you think about Stable Foe's? I could probably answer that one. Stable Foe made a comment basically saying that that Campos was shot by a pellet because they used the word pellet, and I think what that word came from was because the word fragment doesn't translate very well in Spanish, and when they were talking about that he didn't get hit by an actual bullet shot, he got hit by a fragmentation part of the bullet, that they just called it the word pellet instead of fragment or what have you. And that was told. I have several friends that are Spanish, and because you have to have them, I guess, to be politically correct or whatever in today's environment. But so I asked them. I said, if I was telling you that I had gotten shot in my leg, but not by the actual bullet, and I used the word fragment or pellet, would that be the same meaning to you? And they said yes. What's happened is that some people have taken the word pellet and said.
Let's stop that right there, and let's just backtrack a little bit.
Yep.
It was confirmed. The reason Campos claimed he was hit with a pellet was because of the size of the wound. Nothing to do with language issues or anything like that. Because even LVMPD, I think it was Featherston, the first officer to encounter him, questioned a pellet. And if you look, I think it's on the actual body cam footage. If not, it's in one of the police statements. I can dig it out. And he says, I think I was hit by the pellet because it's not very big of a hole.
Mm-hmm. And
then he goes, but he fired down the hallway with an automatic weapon. Then you can see the officers looking at him thinking, what the hell is this guy going on about?
Right. I'm sure Campos didn't think he was shot by a pellet because he would have heard the shots being fired towards him, and he would not mistake them for a pellet. That's where my mindset was going when I was trying to figure out what it was.
Well, let's backtrack and let's.
Yeah.
So I've had a theory, as you know, Mike, for a very long time, that there was more to the whole Campos story, and I wanted to get to the bottom of it. And the shooters' items in the room and Campos's story go hand in hand in a sense, because stable foe. Campos was shot with a ricochet, which was a small fragment. Now, I'm probably going to be at the risk of prosecution right now, but I can tell you now, some of the fragments taken out of that hallway were quite small.
Yeah,
I know, because
the 223 round is famous for as well as I do for firing.
I mean, what people don't understand is it went through a solid wood door before it come out of anything. Right. So it's going to slow down. Okay.
And also, if you guys remember when they said there were 200 or so holes that they had in the wall down the hallway, a lot of people mistook that for being 200 bullets.
I'm going to show a photo that no one has seen outside of me, not even you, Mike. Yes, you have. You've seen it. This was given to me by a person who went up. I'm going to show you a copy of it.
This is the carpet scene, or
no? This is the wall. The one that no one's ever seen. So this has never been seen in the public domain before.
Doesn't have the board game thing.
This is not my picture.
Okay.
I do have the original now. Share.
All right. Let me add that. And there we go.
There you go. That is one of the walls inside the 32nd wing hallway. 32nd 100 wing hallway. The reason there is so many hole or striations or scratches on that wall is because genuinely the bullets were fragmenting as they came out of the door.
Correct.
Because he was firing through a solid wood door. So, there's a bit in the picture frame. There's a bit here. There's a bit there. There's a bit there. There's a bit there. The shooter only fired 34 shots through that door. But by the time they were soft, I think that they weren't hollow points. As they exited the door, they basically started to break down pretty quickly. So that picture has literally never seen the light of day before, apart from the person that gave it to me. Again, you can see me actually just here taking a picture of my phone, but I do have a copy of it now, which will be in the book because there was a lot more than that. So yeah, if anyone wants to go on about a pellet and everything else, I suggest you read up on ballistics because,
Well, I think we just nipped that right in the bud. How the term came up, the word pellet that might be open for whatever, but the actual, what was found were exactly as Mark described, as you shoot through a door or just the bullet will fragment just in the air.
Mike, this is the back of the friggin' door he fired through. Let's put this to bed once and for all.
All right.
There you go. That's the back of the door. There is no 200 rounds through that door.
Correct.
Okay. There's 32 shots through this door, and there's 2 further shots through the door on the east side of the hallway. If you look at the police body cam footage where they circle, I think it was Bitsko's body cam footage caught the first sight of the door. You will see the splinters on the other side look totally different to this because a bullet will misshape when it hits a solid object. Okay,
it's just lead. It's very soft.
Lead. It's soft lead. It will be. It's malleable. Yeah. It's going through a heavy solid wood door. Well, I don't think it's a solid wood door. I think it's a combination. But they were misshaped as they went out. They were breaking up as they were literally going out. And then they're hitting walls, they're hitting reinforced concrete floors. These things break down. Yes, Alan, that is the door to 135. That's the back of it. That would have been inside the room. Mike, Correct. If you could stop sharing my screen for a second. I'm going to show them the other side of the door. Where did it go? I've got it here somewhere. I know I have.
And correct, Alan. That would be the right side.
Yeah. So
looking out.
Mike, if you share my screen again.
Yep. Gotcha.
Okay. This is the left-hand side of the door.
Correct.
There is a bullet hole there and a bullet hole there. Okay. 34 shots in total. This here on the crime scene sketch is shot number 17 because it went down and through the door and hit the floor. This is shot number 16 that ended up hitting which caused Campos to have a band-aid put on his head. Campos was barely wounded. The big Ellen DeGeneres scoop where he was walking out with a walking cane was a joke. I think, Mike, was it you or Doug Popper that spoke to Campos's relative?
That was me.
And was saying something about, they were basically making him walk with a cane.
Yeah, well, actually, I take that back. Papa talked to him as well, but me and Ramsey, we flew him out here. I'm in Florida now, but we flew him to California and did the on-camera interview with him and stuff. And he told us point blank that literally when the people left the room, because they were put up in the was it Vidara, the area, I'm trying to remember which hotel he was in. I have the pictures from that. But as soon as everyone left the room, he would take his cane and just throw it over onto the couch, and he would walk normal. There was like he fake limped all of that. And Campos, if you're watching this, you're more than welcome to challenge me on that.
Yeah, challenge me well, Campos. I'm more than happy to see you in the court of law. Okay, I am too bad. I wouldn't advise it, but if you go to the hotel and you get up onto that floor, which is quite easy to do now, and you walk down the hallway with a copy of the crime scene sketch, you can pretty much find where the rounds impacted on the floor.
Yep.
You can't find them on the walls anymore because the FBI actually cut the sections of plasterboard out.
But it's the same carpet.
It's the same carpet. In fact, there's now a nice little few, from what I could feel under my feet, there's a few divots in there now. So someone's been digging something out, but not much.
Mm-hmm. No comment.
Yeah. There was another comment I just saw, but it just disappeared on me.
Yes, frangible is a correct term.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Doug I noticed, I saw some of Doug's articles, which was quite enjoyable to read in some respects.
Yeah.
It's the guy is just a joke from start to finish. He really is. I've got no respect for the guy. He's lied continually. MGM to a point of being complicit in the lies. And it all comes down to one simple fact: the level of negligence. Mm-hmm. Because, I'm not going to say the attack could have been stopped by no shape or form, but Campos was negligent in his actions that night. He knew that fire door should never have been secured. He passed at least 3 to 4 phones in various sections of the hotel. He could have alerted someone to that door far sooner than what he did. The several investigators on the case never believed he didn't see the room service cart. He just knew when he saw that room service cart, he knew there was something bad going down. He knew he should have done things differently, and he just basically, hid the truth. The timings don't add up. If you watch the video that I've done, which is, I'll send you the link, Mike, so you can post it. Mm-hmm. It's probably the most in-depth video of his walkthrough that night. And Michelle, that's why I'm doing it, because Mike and I were in Vegas 4 months ago, Mike?
January 13th, if memory serves.
So we're in Vegas, and this was not planned. It was not scripted. I was meeting with a few contacts of Mike And whilst we were sat waiting for one of them to turn up, Melissa Ramirez's parents arrived. And
oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah, we didn't tell that.
You know, and that for
changed
me was, you know, there was a lot of stuff that was covered up. There was a lot of stuff that should have been made known that would have potentially changed the outcome of the case.
Yeah.
You know, there's certain, you know, when you take someone, you know, when someone gives you information, you've got to treat it a certain way. You know, you've got to be able to disseminate that information without people realizing who give it to you, because some of these people still work for the police force. And they're very cagey about talking about it because, you know,
it goes with the territory. I mean, you know, Doug knows as well, and I do. You do.
You never
protect your sources as best you can, and to the point where even just giving someone the information would identify, you know, who that person is, because maybe only one person had that information from that perspective. So yeah, it's not easy.
Robo Max. Who's Robo Max?
RoboMax is, how do we describe RoboMax? RoboMax is a troll, but he doesn't identify as one. He has debated me before. He lost, but he thinks he won. He is a person that believes that man has not landed on the moon and things of that nature. Yet he is very intelligent, very articulate, and does have some good points from time to time. But he's pretty much off his rocker.
Well, let me address the person off his rocker personally. Sure. I'm up in my usual haunt on the East Coast, so I'm at my apartment. Am I a fellow expert on 1 October? I am now. Well, I wouldn't call myself an expert. I've just
yeah, you are. You fall under that classification.
Who am I? Like everyone else, I have a past. And you can read it on my website. I'm ex-British Army. I've worked for various companies after I left the Army, mainly in the security world. And so I understand how gunshots work. You know, Robo, whatever you want to call yourself. Delusional in Scottish. You know.
He is entertaining at times, but so just he does have moments of clarity where he asks very poignant, very well written questions, and he does bring up some valid points on occasion. But for the other occasions, it doesn't really balance out.
Well, back to Doug Plopper's comment anyway, because I've had enough of that guy.
Sure.
Yeah, Doug, I completely agree with you. MGMRI knew Campos was incompetent, like 98% of their security guards. Did he follow procedures? No, obviously not. We all saw that one. And did LVMPD help him? Did they, you know, Doug, I believe you're an ex-police officer. So you understand how investigations work. And to hoodwink an entire investigation, someone in the police department has to be in on it. There is no way it can happen otherwise. And, you know, you read that as you want. But again, there are how far it goes up the tree. I'm not willing to say right now. Is there evidence of a cover-up? The joke of it is yes, and all the information has been in the public domain for years. It's just people have never put it together. Because there are things missing that were never released by one department. You know, and that's why I think the FBI are hanging on to what they've got, Mike, because once you put everything together, it creates a jigsaw puzzle.
Yep.
You know, and shit, this is not.
And I have a lot of as well do you, pieces of that puzzle. But the problem is because if we put that piece of the puzzle out there, it reveals what we're trying to put together, and then someone else might, you know, further make it a hard life for us. So you have to sit on some things until something else happens that you can go, aha, and then you can piece it together. That's kind of why we're hoping that the information that we get, that we have 28 CDs, 14,000 pages of documents that'll be coming on Paddock. And we hope that will yield something to give us more of the mindset and the motive and things of that nature.
Just looking at Doug's question again.
Yep.
Major story coming out about a Lombardo covert reference the investigation. I don't know whether you're doing it, Doug, or someone else is doing it, but I believe there is something about to hit the headlines within the next few days. What that person has is quite explosive, from what I understand. I'm not involved in the leak, shall we say, but I believe there are several major news networks baying for the opportunity to release what this person's got. That's all I can say on that subject. Lombardo's been shady for years. That guy was shady even before shady was a word, I think.
And he even did some things that were so blatantly obvious but it's Vegas, so everybody just went for it. Even to include when they were putting out information to the media, they were ordered to release all of that information at once. And they pretended like, oh, it's so much we're going to do it in chunks. Well, what was very odd, and I think Doug will back me up, and you already know, some of the body-worn camera footage, which you would think would be done in some sort of chronological fashion, was cherry-picked. Obviously, the Hendricks video did not make it out before Lombardo was reelected.
Let's say it is the whole of the evidence was cherry-picked.
Oh, absolutely.
If you read some of the police statements, some of the witness statements from guests at the Mandalay Bay, they refer to other witnesses, and you can never find that statement, because it's not there.
Yep.
It's been suppressed.
And sadly, that's very true, Bear, what Bear just said.
Yeah. And I was
it was gone. It was gone within a couple of weeks of the shooting itself, but got to get back to business as usual.
Who's Jeff?
Jeff Fudner or Scott? Oh, Fudner. Let's see here. What is? I didn't read his question. Hello, may I speak with Logic, please? Sorry, Logic doesn't work here. Never has. Fudner's off and on. He's actually normally fairly level, but go ahead and state what you want to state there, Jeff. We're listening.
Logic doesn't work here. Well, how?
Logic doesn't work in this case. And I can say that from a cliche standpoint. Yeah, of course not, because there's.
How? If you listen to half the news out there was 12,000 shooters.
Yeah.
Genuinely. You've got covert ninjas hiding in trees and.
Well, not even that so much. It's also the way this case was. Not necessarily the conspiracy theory side, but when we're trying to get information, you can see the frustration in a lot of the reporters asking normal questions, and they would be, shoved aside or what have you, or
but then I'm gonna go down a different tangent here on that one, because I've sat there and watched countless hours of press coverage, and there's someone we both know, Mike, that didn't make it easy on people and completely pissed things the wrong way.
You talking about Laura?
Yeah. She was, I think, the first to come out with the ISIS conspiracy, if I remember rightly.
No, actually, Mike's it wasn't Cernovich. It was someone else, but she jumped on that bandwagon immediately because she lives for that.
There was so much disinformation pull out, not only by reporters, but out of the MPD themselves. The original statement about Campos, let's circle back to him. Lombardo claimed he was assisting police officers search the hotel. And he was a hero because he stopped the attack. Because the shooter fired upon him, the shooter thought he was a police officer or whatever the hell he said. And then the shooter took his own life. Then it suddenly comes out, actually, Campos was on the floor doing something else. And allegedly stumbled upon the room. So, LVMPD have not done themselves any favors, and Lombardo genuinely made the original statement, and he went off half-cocked. He had no idea what the hell was going on. What he should have really said was, listen, I really have no idea at this stage. I can't answer anything. Let me get back to you on that question.
Yeah, and when you think about it too, there's a lot of, and early on in any investigation this happens. I've been through, I think this one was my 13th major, and early on, you kind of take things with a grain of salt. And a lot of people say, well, you didn't get the witness statement early on. I said, I hardly ever get witness statements at all because it's the worst of all evidence for me. I always go for tangible physical stuff. But the issue that I was having is I was watching Lombardo, and he seemed pretty good going in the very first couple of conferences that he did. But then they engaged the suspect. Things.
It started. I mean, Mike, even the first press conference was half-assed. Let's be honest. Okay, back to the ISIS comment. Now, let me. There was no connection whatsoever between ISIS and the shooter. ISIS was claiming it because ISIS will claim, or at that point would have claimed their own grandmother was doing it. Conspiracy theories are going to circulate because there was someone that was potentially on Mary Lou's Facebook that was connected to ISIS, allegedly.
Well, there's people in Mary Lou Danley's family that a lot of those issues come from.
Allegedly. But there's
no, we've got that. I can give you the pictures. But yeah.
Well, there's a lot of it was pretty much determined within the first 4 hours. There was no connection to ISIS whatsoever.
Oh yeah, correct.
And this wasn't just done by LVMPD.
No, that was upper level 3-letter agencies.
Intelligence figures, because if it was an attack, there's a good chance there may have been another one. So they had to figure this crap out pretty quick. When it found out there was, people saying, "Oh, this person was on Mary Lou's Facebook. That person was on Mary Lou's Facebook." Yes, terrorists do use Facebook. But I don't believe for 1 minute Mary Lou had any terrorists on her Facebook. The Philippines now have a major problem with ISIS, same as everywhere else in the middle, in that sort of Eurasia region. It's just conspiracy theories that just cause problems.
I think like Astro, what you're bringing into this conversation is essentially we're going to get onto the whole logical fallacy area where you're not going to be able to dazzle us with brilliance of actual tangible evidence that support anything you're saying. So you're just going to keep throwing one thing after another, hoping some will stick. It doesn't work with me. It doesn't work with Mark. We're both former, Intel guys. We can weed through that stuff relatively quickly. Here we entertain it a little bit just because we're being polite or what have you. But normally,
even a broken clock is right twice a day.
That's correct.
And
except for digital clocks, they're not right anytime.
Well, certainly not the Mandalay Bay, apparently.
Yeah, well, I got in trouble with that too because the video that I released to Tucker Carlson that had the date was wrong on it, so everybody gave me a hard time for that.
Yeah, I mean, listen. Basically, the long and short of it is the reason. Vegas was going to lose money if this wasn't wrapped up pretty quickly. Simple as. So LVMPD did what they had to do to keep the casinos going, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. And it was a disservice to a lot of the victims. It just shouldn't have happened the way it did.
Correct.
Okay, you can tell me where, Astro, whatever, buddy. How I'm not going to say it out loud, but I'll say it anyway. If people really needed to speak to certain people, all it takes is a phone call. Mike, you know what I'm on about.
Yep.
I can claim to know the Pope. I don't, but I can claim I know him. There's no connection.
Yeah, I can say this with, and I can show you why later. with the utmost assurity as far as Mary Lou Danley is concerned, as far as her location and things of that nature and what her family was doing. I can tell you that was being tracked very closely, and there's nothing there. So we don't have to go down that road, but
yeah, pretty much. I mean, Jeff's got a good point there. I know I think he had a bit of a sour point earlier on. Pretty much, yeah. I think they expected Campos to go onto the Ellen DeGeneres show, and everyone go, "Oh yeah, Campos is a hero. He's done what he had to do. He saved all these lives. You know, let's just move on and say, and, you know, thank him for his time." And you know, in fact, did you know his union tried to put him up for the Presidential Freedom Medal?
Yeah. And that would not have made it at all.
No,
not at all. There was a lot going on right about that time too. He was supposed to be on Tucker, and some other stuff that was going on at the time that they went on Ellen. There was 5 shows he was scheduled to be on that evening that he basically disappeared from the meeting that he was in. I think you remember the meeting he was at. And once that occurred, the behind the scenes that occurred was obvious to everyone, but apparently played down quite well, that they would have a person. Everyone's wondering why would he go to Ellen? Well, the clear answer was, the obvious answer was, there was a obvious MGM connection to Ellen, and they felt that they could control whatever Ellen would ask. And so they couldn't control Tucker. They couldn't control, you know, some of the others that were scheduled for those interviews. And that's point blank what happened. And there is no investigation that needed to be done to determine that. It was just pretty well known, but there's really not much you can do about it. But yeah, it was messed up.
And you know, I agree with Seattle. You know, I certainly don't believe he's a hero. I know I still owe you the Campos chapter, like I promised I'd send you to read.
Yeah.
I actually called him Campos the Coward in that, because, you know, he genuinely is and was and still is.
Because I mean, he was at a point where he could have done something to affect what was happening. Him, and I mean, there's several names we could throw out there that could have done something. Just throwing a garbage can down the hallway. I mean, I used that analogy before, and it was a stupid analogy, but that would have been enough to distract him. I mean, that's how it works.
You know. And, you know, another thing that happened was a lot of former LVMPD officers wanted to make a name for themselves. And I think one of them actually did get on the news, claiming that, you know, he was going for a stronghold. He was, you know, he wasn't going to go down easily. This is a shooter. And he alluded to the blue pipe in the room. No, actually, because at this point, what no one realized was, unless you were the family of the shooter, he had very sensitive skin. So the moment they would have fired tear gas into that room, he would have been on the floor crying like a baby, because it would have burnt the hell out of his skin. And that was basically because he planned to fire 5,000 rounds that night in his room. And there would have been an excess of gas. So he had to breathe somehow. And he just calculated like that because he may have needed a breathing apparatus. And
that's also the reason why part of the reason why he had the 2 windows busted out was because there was airflow between the 2 that would clear that out. Yeah, the other obvious reason is he had to fire the one weapon out of one window and one out of the other, but that also helped.
When the wind closed the door, you know, so you know, it's just, you know, when I looked at the planning and preparation stage of the shooter, LVMPD were nowhere near close. And I'm not saying that just to stoke my own fires here. I'm saying that because they threw a lot of stuff out there they really didn't need to. And there was stuff that they believed, you know.
Are we at a point now where we can reveal, like, the reason for the body worn? I know the body worn camera footage being turned off.
No.
Okay. All right.
No. You know, it's, we could sit here all day and go on about the, you know, woulda, coulda, shoulda. You know, for private prisons. Hang on. I do not understand Astro's comment. Do you, Mike?
Astro, where's his comment? Astro, where one starts out at 505 News. I think he's meant the word can. Can you ask him about the potential cartel connection there? Well, I would probably know that answer better at this point. There was no connection. If you're referring to Mary Lou Danley, or you're referring to Paddock, Mexican. Also, Tony Pastini's plane blowing up over Yorba Linda. Dennis Hoff's personal pilot with DJ. Okay, you're going off into some tangents that are unrelated completely. I can say with utmost assurity that none of those are related.
No. He was the second shooter from. I mean, there's always been this conspiracy theory about more than one shooter in that room. There wasn't. Well,
there was. The second shooter didn't happen until after Paddock had passed away.
Well, but this is what causes conspiracy theories, Mike, as you know.
I know, is the Sean O'Donnell.
He's going to run down the hallway now saying, hey, look at this. The truth of it is Paddock was the only shooter. Correct. Okay. The reason he took so many weapons is so he didn't have to keep reloading weapons, which would increase the speed of the attack. Ergo, he caused mass casualties. The guy took everything up to that room he needed. From, mounting brackets to extra rounds, because that was his plan. And there's certain things which, it's everything was there for a reason. Just look up the February 4th in downtown LA. Yes, yeah, it took a lot of people years to come to terms with that because they genuinely believed he couldn't have done it. It's like there's a conspiracy theory he was a military trained contractor at one point. Well, the truth of it is, go onto YouTube and look at firefights in Afghanistan, and you will see how troops are trained to fire sustained bursts, and that certainly isn't the way you do it.
There's the bigger question that a lot of people had, or in the early throes of this, was they couldn't believe that a 64-year-old man could do blah, 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 and all these different things.
I agree. It was hard for me to believe until I delved into what I had to delve into, and then you suddenly realize that this wasn't just some middle-aged idiot who had a grudge against the world. He was a highly intelligent, critical thinker. The guy hid millions of dollars from the IRS, for Christ's sake. Hence the reason that hard drive went missing, Couldn't care less that there was extreme child porn, on his computer, but he cared enough to keep his family out of trouble.
Yep.
Like he sent Mary Lou Danley away. He sent her away because he didn't want her to be in trouble for something that he had done on his own. And that's the long and short of it. All the .coms if you need it. What's Michelle going on about?
Michelle's more her questioning is going in more in how this would relate to her current case and situation, and it kind of doesn't at the moment. So Michelle, I'm kind of tabling some of your questions at the moment because you and I will obviously talk separate anyway. So I just wanted to say that.
Yes.
Is any connection with the computer security?
No, I'm going to see Al's comment. A lot of people didn't calculate at the time. There was a lot of hard services around, so that's why it sounded like there was more than one shooter. I think, Mike, you were the one that did the video on that.
On what one?
On the sound waves.
I did, and also there's another one who helped, or thankful that he did. Myself, I did it. Also, Mr. Visual did it, and also October 1 Sounds did much more extensive than either myself or Mr. Visual.
Yeah.
Except the file I have it. That still is under what you know it is under. I can't say it.
Yeah, I say it's even police officers believe there was more than one shooter. They were shocked when they found out. There were several LVMPD officers who were combat veterans who were also shocked who were fired upon by Paddock that night. You know, it was quite hard to believe, but it was genuinely the work of any one person. Someone that had methodically planned this to a point where it was just on an insane level, you know?
Mm-hmm. I don't even think he, you know, just trying to, or in obviously early on, you try to get in the mind of the killer to try to think and, you know, what he was thinking at the time and trying, like, the time I truly did it when I was trying to nail down the actual suicide shot when that was made. Yeah. Because I just wanted to quickly get to that because it was almost like a race at that point. But you know, when you try to get into that mindset, I don't think he actually had any idea that it would have been at the level that it was at. I don't think he went into it saying it's going to be the #1 shooting of all time.
No, I think he did, Mike. I beg to differ on that one. I don't think he was doing it for a degree of infamy. And unfortunately, the victims in that arena that night were unwitting participants in his sick little game with the casinos.
Right. Well, a lot of people they question the accuracy. They say only a trained sniper could do these things or whatever. And you and I both know that.
I hate to use this terminology, but it was comparable to shooting fish in a barrel.
Exactly.
Like you were in the you know, when me and you went to the Mandalay Bay, I got a suite, and we both saw the vantage point.
Yep.
There was no sniping involved in that. The only thing he did snipe
I can show those pictures. I think I still have them.
I've got them actually on my, hang on, Mike. I've got them on my.
Do you?
Yeah, I've got them. Yeah.
All right. Let me know when you
off my room. Send that.
Well, I think what I did is I took the picture at a wider angle that was more natural to the eyes. So I'll see yours and then see if it looks the same because it's when you stand there and you look out that window and you see it, it's totally different than the crime scene photos that you saw of them, you know, with it and the breeze are adding to the stream here. Yeah, see, that doesn't do it the justice. So I'm gonna add myself. Okay. Let me see here. Oh, go ahead and keep showing yours if you. I don't know if you can. You want me to pull you out and then you can scroll?
No, I've got No, so I've got several.
Send myself an invite. Search sent.
I'll stop sharing that screen because I really don't know what I've got left on the email. Gotcha. I know I've got.
Oh wow. That's why.
So yeah, Mike, I want to touch on a subject actually because I noticed you screwed up on one of your videos. I'm about to embarrass you over the truck.
Uh-oh. Well, Michelle's in here. She's the one that gave me the truck, so.
Michelle, it was an awesome truck until he killed it. So, Mike, do you want to just share my screen?
Yeah, let me get that up there. Hang on.
Okay, so Mr. Turber produced a video of the 32nd, or what was the 32nd floor, and incorrectly stated that he was in front of the doors that were actually the old elevator doors.
That was when I was with, yeah, I know. Okay.
I'm just embarrassing you now, Mike.
I guess you did a fine job.
Any conspiracy theories? If you look at this elevator here, this is the one that goes from the 19th to what is now the 30th floor. And once upon a time, they used to actually go all the way up to 31, 32, 33, and 34. However, when MGM took over Mandalay Bay, they changed the from 31 upwards to the Four Seasons. And these elevators then were taken offline from going up to that floor. However, there is an elevator. If you actually go in it and press the button, it does take you to the old 32nd floor. And someone's already been up there and figured that out and they've pulled the door open.
Right.
So, you know.
All right, there we go. I'll put this and share this. Okay, so we'll go here.
Okay. In response to CL's question a lot earlier on, the book was delayed from coming out because of various things, mainly my hectic lifestyle slowed it down, but also new evidence came to light after I spoke to various people. But a provisional launch date right now is going to be 1 October, which is coincident, obviously, with the anniversary, or sooner if I can get it finished sooner.
Your books is it going to come out in how is your book going to come out? Digital format, or is it going to be hard copy or both?
Format to start with. I am in talks with several publishers to do hard copy version, but also on Amazon you can do a hard copy version anyway. It's just a question of which route I want to go down at this precise moment. For any accuracy, a bump stock at a distance isn't great, but yeah, I mean, it's, someone was making a comment about.
Yeah, let me monitor the chat here. Let me get back in there because I was looking for those pictures.
Seventh Son. Yeah, I'm just.
I saw the comment where something at 400 yards.
Okay, I can actually tell you the distance right now. Because I'd even gone that in depth that I'd taken my laser rangefinder there.
Mm-hmm.
And where'd it go? Photos. So the distance between the shooters, so the distance between the, let me just, let me just see if I can get the report back up, because then what's the report? Because it'd be a lot easier to explain with the report.
Robo's asking what is the title of the book?
1 October Mass Shooting Exposing the Lies at the moment, unless I can think of something more ingenious. But yeah, I mean, it's basically an expose of what went wrong. And I've cut
CL was asking about the missing hard drive, but go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
So the distance is so this is where everyone goes on about the distance. Mike, let me share my screen and make sure. Yeah, I know there's a couple of victims in here, so I'm trying to find a more appropriate picture of the venue because I don't want to upset anyone. And the pictures I've got, I really can't show on the venue.
We can do. I actually did well, I have the beta version of Google Earth Studio that does the measurements as well, but and they're spot on accurate.
Not exactly.
Yeah.
Not exactly.
No, I mean I remeasured them with the laser, and they were like within half a yard of each other. I'm talking about the beta version of Google Earth Studio, and you wouldn't have seen that. Ask him about the Academy, formerly Blackwater, and POTUS. Okay, we want to stay on this subject here. This is basically Mark's show, so he's whatever he wants to talk about. That's what we're going to talk about.
I'm trying to find a more appropriate picture of the venue because everyone is way out on the distances. Okay, so let's put it this way. Initially, the shooter wanted room it was on the 200 wing, 30th odd floor. So he had done all of his calculations based on a room he had previously stayed in. Okay, which, if I have my notebook here somewhere, I can tell you the distance. And it was approximately couple of
You want the distance to the venue?
No, I've got the distance here, Mike. Let me just
I've
go
got
to mine. The shooter was actually a lot closer than what he believed he would have been. So distances. I've got much. Okay, documents. Hotel info. Here we are. So, distances. I believe the note in his room claimed it was 700 yards, Mike. I think he'd gauged it out at.
Oh, that's right.
So, one of the victims have just said that they don't mind seeing the picture. So, let me see if I can get that back up.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just going to go in.
I got you.
He was closer than his original room. Yeah, he was a hell of a lot closer. Well, he was a lot closer to the venue, but further from fuel tanks. And I believe he wanted to be closer to the fuel tanks than what he did the venue. Okay, let me just share my screen, Mike.
All right. Now, keep in mind, just so everybody knows, he was not shooting at the tank itself. It wasn't shooting at anything behind the tank.
Well, we can't, Mike.
Yeah.
This is a thing where I'm going to close you down on because, as you know, I'm very straightforward with this.
Yeah.
We do not know for certain what the guy was shooting at. So let's just say the tank is a bigger object. That guy was no sniper. So 1-3. Let's go to 120. Oh no, that's too low. Let's go to 200. Okay, so roughly this is where the shooter's room was, or the one that he fired into the venue. Okay, so the distance from this window, I think it's that one there, down to this area here, okay, on the right-hand side of the stage, was 298.3 yards. Exactly. Over to this side of the stage was 329.7 yards. Okay, because when you measure, a lot of people I've seen measured on Google Earth, and I've done it myself. What Google Earth actually does is a linear distance, okay, where I've got a very clever rangefinder which actually gives me the bullet drop also. So I know the trajectories he would have been firing at based on various calculations. However, the shooter's original room was meant to be over here on this side of the hotel, which made him further from the venue but closer to the, is there a picture with the fuel tanks, Mike?
Yes.
I thought there was an aerial view in the report.
You just passed it. Right there. It's not you need an aerial view because
I think there was an aerial view in one of the investigative reports.
There is. It's the picture from the same picture you showed there. There's a picture from almost like the opposite angle. But I think it's actually in. It's one of the pictures too, where the picture where it shows the window basically shot out, and you can see off into it. That shows the tanks as well. I've got tons of pictures of the tanks.
Yeah, I've got.
But I'm on my laptop. I don't know if I got them on here.
Let me just stop sharing for a second because I do have.
Well, we've got somebody in the room. If Jeff Scott is still in here, Jeff is one of the people that actually shut down one of the conspiracy theories, saying that the tank was not shot until after 11 p.m. And he has a picture of the tank at like 11:40 when he was standing in front of it.
Okay.
As he escaped.
I'm just trying to find. Oh, here we go. Is that the best one? No, that's not the best picture.
Yes, I know you want me to show.
Hang on.
No problem.
It's not the best picture, but it's the one from the actual room. It's not very clear because I superimposed it off something else. So this is the window he was firing from into the venue.
Yep.
And the distances were a lot closer. I mean, the tanks are just here, as you can see. So from this window here down to this area, it's 298.3 yards. Exactly. To this area here is 329.7 yards. And from 134, which is obviously over here somewhere, to the fuel tanks was 671.6 yards. And had he been in the other side of the hotel like he wanted to be, his view of this area would have been not as good as what this one was. So the computer really, I mean, it was genuine, the computer's done it. Assisted the shooter in improving his accuracy, basically, because the guy was no long distance shooter. I'm just trying to catch up on do you know what, CL? I've just seen CL's comment about why he asked for that room. The guy was no marksman. The guy was no sniper. The only reason he inflicted so much horror in that stadium was genuinely because he was firing sort of from this corner upwards because of the natural pull of the shot. If you literally go on YouTube and you see a side angle of someone firing on something comparable to full automatic, you would notice that the barrel starts to raise. So if you imagine you're looking down at an angle, as it raises, it's sort of going up this direction, if that makes sense. What does someone want to send me?
That's right. I did a satellite image that I acquired.
I don't recall, Mike.
You
probably did send me a satellite image. I got that much.
I'll have to send it to you. I can't remember if I did or not.
I said I got that many pictures.
Yeah, I think early on because what I did was I put it in a KML file and I actually have it inside Google Earth, although my laptop is super slow compared to what my streaming gaming computer would be.
Hang on, Mike. I'm just trying to find Jeff's comment on here. He wants to see if I want a copy of something.
Okay. Oh, the picture? Jeff he's probably talking about the picture that I think it was 1040 is when he took that picture.
Yeah.
It's the earliest picture of the tank after the shooting, showing that the tank had been hit.
Yeah, Jeff,
and no one at the time knew it.
Yeah, Jeff, I'd be more than happy to see a copy of that. I'll get Mike to send you my details, and you can email it to me. In fact, Mike,
I think I actually have it too.
Yeah, you've been promising to send me that for weeks, but I've never seen it. I think you're trying to hold it at ransom. Oh, is it my folder? Is it? Yeah, I've not been on there for weeks. That's why I've not seen it then. I'm just reading this. Does MGM know who I am? Well, I've stayed there enough. They should do by now.
Yeah.
In fact, I am actually, I'm not trying to boast about this, but I'm actually a higher level player than the shooter ever was. Because in order to not come to attention, I wanted to put some things to the test. And, do I think I'll be sued? I hope so. I truly do. I hope MGM take me to court because it's called discovery. It's called my evidence is provable. You know, and I really don't care if they want to try and sue me. In fact, I'll even pay their attorney's fees just for shits and giggles. So don't gamble, it's bad. Oh, Christ. You've obviously never seen Mike. What am I like gambling?
What?
What am I like gambling?
You great luck. Your luck's as good as mine. We gambled on that truck, I guess.
Yeah,
Let's
you
see
gambled,
here.
not me.
Hey, Seventh Son. I've been meaning to get back with you too. Seventh Son. I've God, I've been so busy. I can't believe how all three cases have culminated on this weekend.
Let's go with that. I'm just trying to see what everyone's trying to say.
I think it was more statements than just about anything here. If you do type in all caps, make certain that what you're asking is a question, because it does kind of distract us. We see the all caps, think it's a question, and we're not really sure what it is. Seventh Son said marksman, he stayed in the K zone except for the volley and the tank shots.
I'd like to clarify that remark. I never said he was a marksman. I said he was no marksman.
Yeah.
Had he been a marksman, you know, it would have been a shed load worse than what it really was. He was genuinely a 64-year-old deranged individual who was mad at the world. That's the easiest way to describe it. And what happened to the truck, Michelle? Well, Mike killed it. So the first time that me and Mike ever met in person was down in Florida. I'd flown down there for the premiere of Ramsey's movie. Mike was telling me he was nursing this truck all the way from God knows where, the back of beyond of somewhere. And so we didn't meet for a beer on the first night.
That truck didn't need any nursing. That thing runs like a champ.
You still got it?
Of course.
Yeah. And then you come to pick me at my hotel in the morning, about 20 minutes before we have to be at a movie premiere of Ramsey's movie. And we're going down what highway was it, Mike? Whatever highway it was.
US 1. It was 95 or US 1. It was one of the two.
Yeah, and we literally got about 20 yards onto the highway and the truck died for lack of fuel.
And then we had one of the highway truck, the highway people that cruise the highway just looking for people that have stalled or whatever. And he was able to push us off the road, but he pushed us to a gas station that didn't have diesel gas.
Yeah. And he just literally.
And I gave him $20 or $40 or something.
But he didn't even push us anywhere significant on the gas station. He just sort of pushed us onto the forecourt, and we had to push it the rest of the way.
Right.
And then it turned out there was a blown fuse on one of the fuel pumps that wasn't circulating the fuel properly. Mm-hmm. Needless to say, we literally made it to the premiere of this film within about a minute. Which was quite funny.
Good times.
And it wasn't highly funny at the time. I can tell you that. I was ready to throw Mike in the middle of traffic. I nearly did as well. Yes, Mike has sent me the video of Eric. That was a crazy one. Someone's going on about the powder.
Wait, Eric said, okay, hold on. Okay, now I got to know who asked her to do this. That's my last question. Eric said it was an ex-girlfriend's address, but those implications are even worse than him liking the cartoon. Wait, the cartoon. Oh, is this the Powerpuff Girls or whatever it was?
That strange one. Yeah, that's one you sent me. That was literally crazy. Yes, Michelle, he did tell me it was your Route 91 truck. I was honored to go in it. I was honored to push it as well, actually. But I was about ready to push Mike in the middle of the road. Yeah,
he wasn't too happy. It seems like he had lived a sheltered life, but no, he actually Mark runs a sport and survival training facility in Texas. So he's not a whatever you want to call it.
Why nobody BWCs in abandoned hotel?
Wait, which one? Oh, the abandoned hotel that's at the okay. So why okay, we can't tell you. I will tell the story so you don't get screwed up. Not that you would, but the no BWCs was because of a particular group and or persons that were there at.
I thought, Mike, we addressed it on the last one.
We did, but I'm still trying to keep it the same as before.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I've still got the original slide I did for that one, which I think I do. Okay. Let me just. What's Astro going on about?
I don't know. I'm trying to. We talked about that was Seventh Son talked about the BWCs. The BWCs were turned off not because of revealing of specific tactical maneuvers, which is my original thought and what have you, but it was because of a certain person or groups of people that were there.
Okay,
that
Mike, if you want to share my screen, I shared this on the last time we did a.
Okay, got it.
So this is off a internal log from LVMPD's. Jesus Christ, the copy of their
the dispatch log.
Transmissions.
Yeah, dispatch log. Yeah.
And if you look at this here, they were trying to evacuate various people from the hotel, and they didn't want people to be seen or whatever, and that's apparently why they turned the body cameras off. So, okay, that's why they turned the body cameras off. Nothing to do with anything to do with tactical nature or anything like that.
Right.
Someone's being highly disrespectful about something about the Powerpuff Girls. What the hell is that going on about?
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing. I don't want to go on too many tangents, so let's try to keep those at bay. Bye, Michelle. Okay, you see a lot of crazy time. Yeah, there's going to be some sub conversations apparently going on here. So let me ask you this, Mark, on a couple of questions.
Yeah,
the book. I remember when you and I first talked, the book was not going to be specific to Las Vegas. That it was going to be over mass shootings in general. But then,
so initially it was going to be genuinely just looking at the evolution of the American mass shooting culture. And it went from there because of the stuff with 1 October. Well, obviously 1 October had to be featured in the book because of it was the worst to date. So when I started to do the background on it and look at various aspects of it, I saw there was issues with the final report LVMPD released. And so I started digging, looked through the evidence, found various things, and it just morphed into another book because there was just so much information I couldn't include it in one or two chapters in the book. So, it was easier to write a book on 1 October, specifically because of the discrepancies in the case, various stuff like that. So, again, I never intended to write an individual book on 1 October, but okay.
I'll address part of that. It's coming up. Here's what happens is when you go back and you look at some of the specific jobs, if somebody was British intelligence or British Army or British this or that, and I was whatever I was, sometimes a lot of the skill sets that you learn help you investigate things in ways that even seasoned investigators don't do. So you'll find yourself normally carving a niche like I have and Mark has. We kind of carve a niche into this area where we fill in something that is not covered. And that's where I know I do, and I'm sure Mark does as well. And the question is not necessarily does he have to be an investigator or a licensed or private investigator or previous investigator to be able to do the things that he does.
You just need to know how to interpret the evidence at hand. And you need to understand that how you put a timeline together is certainly not the way our VMPD did it. And there are reasons to why they got the wrong timeline. It wasn't purely down to the investigators. The investigators did what they could. But when you've got people screwing about with trying to screw about with the encoding on the footage, coaching witnesses, and stuff like that, it's quite easy to spot through the bullshit. So, I'm trying to see what Astro's doing.
All right, I'm grabbing Jeff's picture there so I can put that up here.
Yeah, I've got that as well. I've just, but Jeff did message me on here saying that if the metadata is not there, he'll send it to me. Okay, Jeff, thank you very much for that. I've just had a quick look at it. Is that a radio in your hand?
In my hand?
No, Jeff. I'm talking to Jeff.
I'm going to put his picture here. That'll become the new background if it does it properly. And that should now become the background. There it is.
Yeah.
Although I don't know how to get us off of there. Hang on just a second, because it seems like it has to have somebody on there.
Many cups shot the wrong way do not need an interpreter. Okay. What are you trying to say, Seventh Son? Are you trying to say there was shots being fired from another direction?
Well, that I can talk about because that's getting into my area. Sounds like there's some arguing going on there a little bit.
He was a bartender supervisor. Okay, right. If you listen to some of the videos, to say Mike giving you the scientific method, you will hear various sounds, which is basically the bullets fragmenting when they hit the ground. And that's why it looks like some of the cups or whatever are being hit in different directions, or it's the wind. It's a logical explanation. It was no more than one shooter. Okay. And
well, one thing I can say that was the first question I needed to answer for myself was there possibly more than one shooter? And the way you find out is you take all of the audio, strip it from any of the video. Don't even watch the video. Just take all of the audio and strip it from every possible source you have. And then you take those sounds and you can actually plot. If you know where a person was standing with a cell phone and you know the deviation of the cell phone's audio from norm, then you can actually plot in a graph that would tell you that, okay, this person's cell phone is say here, and the sound wave had to be coming from this direction because you have the report and you have the muzzle blast and then you have, of course, the sonic crack. And so that will tell you a way that using those numbers, you can actually figure out where that shot's coming from. And by doing that with multiple sources, or in my case, I plotted every single shot that was fired, period. I was the first person to do that. I did it before the FBI even did it. And by coming up with that information, I was able to determine within a variance of 23 feet where all of the shots came from. And they all came from the 32nd floor of Mandalay Bay. No shot came from any other direction at any time whatsoever. I heard other sounds that I had to rule out whether or not those sounds were shots. I could probably screen share and show you how I do it, but that's the biggest issue, is trying to rule out sounds being shots or not being shots, and then the rest of it is determining each shot. You have a cell phone here or a cell phone here. They both hear the same shot. The difference in time between the two is another calculation. That way you can figure out the angle of where the shot came from. If this phone got it and then this phone got it at a different time, you can actually work that back. And now you know if it came from this direction or down here, because if they both are standing together, they would get the sound at the same time from either side. So, well, how do you know which side it came from? Because no one is exactly standing, in a linear pattern towards each other or from the shot. So that's how you do it. And it's not rocket science, but it is very tedious, incredibly tedious work. It was 3 months of calculations and getting all that done. So when will Mark's book be available?
Again, sometime between now and the 1st of October. It will be on Amazon initially. So yes, it will be available in the UK. And pricing wise, there's some sort of calculator I think Amazon do. But it's not going to be very much money.
Now I know who Astro is. That wasn't the name you were using before though, but I do. He was a Department of State guy. I think he one of the few people that actually pulled some of my stuff. That was how I knew he was legit. But he. Anyway,
what's I Am Too Bear going on about? Unaware that they can dish their own info out on their own channel. Disrespect.
Yeah, I think they're probably thinking someone's pushing. I don't know who is. Oh, I see. Okay, so Astro's being accused of doing it. Honestly, guys, if someone here and they have information, it's up to you guys to determine whether it's useful or not. I'm not one of those people, because I don't make money on this. Everyone knows this is not monetized, nothing. So someone coming in and saying that they have information that's different, you can go look at it. If it's erroneous and crap, then I'll critique it and let you know. But who knows? It's back up here. I think we're gonna get to we're at 2 hours and 23 minutes. So we'll go another 7 minutes here and wrap it up, and then.
Is there any more questions?
Yeah, if you guys have any questions, generally specific to Mark, because I don't get him on here that often, you guys can ask me questions anytime. Go ahead and stop the family feuds or whatever's going on in the chat, and you guys can ask the questions direct. So take advantage of Mark while he's here, asking questions that would pertain to some of the things he's already mentioned that he's done. Let me ask you this, Mark. Because you and I talk all the time, so I don't even think to ask you questions live with people in here, because I already know the answers. But so just to go back a little bit, what was probably the most damning, or the most, what part of this shooting investigation affected you the most? I know I was with you when you met the family of Melissa Ramirez. I know that was obviously one of those. What was there another moment where you just sat down and you go, wow, this is,
it was genuinely the whole Campos thing. That was genuinely the driving force to me, sitting down the one day and thinking, I can put so much into a chapter of another book about this, which that was a whole initial idea. Because, when you just look at the bare facts of the case, it genuinely does seem very neat and tidy in the final case report. Until you take a few calculations into question, and then you suddenly realize, well, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. there's errors in the sense that, that they couldn't even determine what sight was on what weapon. There was magazines on weapons and they were claiming there wasn't. So you suddenly, these reports don't just get published straight away. It takes it was the way it was described to me is that the 1 October final case report was put in front of a committee of people before it was released. Mm-hmm. And so I'm sat there going to this guy, well, you've released this report and it's got erroneous errors in. How do you account for that? And the guy couldn't. And then obviously, these erroneous errors are there because they honestly don't know the friggin' answer to half the stuff. So they try and interject what they can. And, it was for me, I just looked at the whole Campos thing and I knew there was an issue.
Yeah.
And, it was just so grievous that it wasn't even comprehensible how it was allowed to be swept under the carpet.
Right. He made out to be a hero when.
Yeah. I mean, he was far from a hero. I mean, if anything, right. He was a coward. And he's made money off of other people's loss of life, mm-hmm. other people's injuries, and all he got was a boo-boo in the leg. I mean, how? Okay, the guy was in a corridor. There are 30 rounds fired down, or 34 rounds fired down it. That then, to the four guy, I'll look at the. So he was affected in some respects. I'm not saying he isn't a victim because he is. The guy was wounded, a minor wound, and he endured things in that hallway no one can ever comprehend. Like people can't comprehend what the likes of Cial and Michelle endured in the arena. Okay, but to cover up material facts and allow speculation to take its place is not right. Right. And then when you start to scratch the surface, you see. Then you've got these conspiracy nut jobs that run around and cause problems. And then you've got other people interjecting other things in there, which, it doesn't help because a lot of the information's already there in the public domain, mm-hmm. People have just got to know how to assemble it. And it's not, I've come up with this timeline because I think it's my own theory. The one point that I looked at was the stance of my 1 October book. I looked at it as if I was in a court of law, and I had to prove my theories, for want of a better word, beyond a reasonable doubt. So, whenever I was challenged in court, the judge just has to read the book, and he can see where the evidence come from, and he can see how I've arrived at the point I did arrive at. Okay, because there is within the evidence report there is the person who wrote the log that night being questioned, and he tells they ask him the times off the log, which states that the first 2 times within the report is correct, mm-hmm. but there are 2 further times which have been completely removed from the report and not even referenced.
Yep.
So again, there is countless. I mean, it's just too long to go into. And that's why I did a book, because, along with the book, there is going to be a website which is completely free to access. So you can, so people can see what I'm looking at. I'm not going to charge for access to the website because I really don't see the point. It's, that's not my angle.
It's essentially an extension of the book so people can see more or less, because you can't put everything in the book, obviously.
No, I mean, I can't put the Campos videos into the book. Erroneous errors, what do I mean by that? The timeline, for starters. The timeline was the biggest erroneous error they had ever done. They didn't know about half the intelligence out there. And it was just, there's just so much of it that is just half-baked. Mm-hmm. And just, I'm just having a look at, there was a comment I wanted to answer.
Ignore Astro for now. Astro's, he's he better hope you don't say anything that's too classified there, buddy. But anyway, go ahead.
Seventh Son said, what happened to the 4 guys exited and ran from the black Audi SUV as shooting started at front of Luxor. I've never heard that story.
Yeah, I know and I think I know which one he's referring to. That's and that story was mixed in with the green dot laser story, which was mixed in with some other stuff. So it got a little convoluted there too.
If people were running away from the area, it's probably because they heard the sound of gunfire. Not many people tend to stay around when they hear that. So that's one, and a lot of people have cast their own speculation into the rings. So then it gets picked up on the forum. Then someone else puts their little 2 pennies worth on it. Then someone else, and then someone else, and then someone else. And to be quite honest, the truth sometimes is the most logical answer you can see. But a lot of people want it to be something more, which is being disrespectful to the victims. Because they're the ones that have got to live with this and always constantly question why. There will never be a definitive proof as to why the shooter conducted this attack.
Right.
But they were owed the explanations as to why or how he planned it. It's just, people, it's just, I'm just seeing some comments come up on here and I'm like, okay. People try and claim, I saw an article the other day that was written by some intelligence operatives, which was quite funny. That claim there was some sort of, I'll have to send you the article, it's really hilarious. It's almost as funny as the Paddock puzzle.
No.
It's, people want to make a name for themselves out of this.
That happens.
And it's like,
I can't think of a case that has not happened.
But then the guys that screwed up is generally held their hands up to me and said, listen, we didn't have time to do this. We are glad you are coming along to do it for us because it's needed. Okay, so the Sands Corp oil tanks getting hit. They're not Sands Corp. So I don't know where you got that information from. They're actually Kinder Morgan.
Well, I think there's another building there that he's referring to, and he's going to delve into some classified information here in a moment, and I'm just letting him do it. It's a whole nother tangent story that gets back to Assange and some other stuff.
Listen, Astro, this was not a state-sponsored hit.
Yeah. No, he knows that. He knows that.
Okay, it's the Sands terminal. No, it's Kinder Morgan's terminal. So a lot of people are going down the tangent here, which they don't understand.
Yeah.
So typically within oil and gas and petroleum, okay, an operator,
you know something about.
Yeah, an operator will lease facilities from someone like Kinder Morgan, okay, who are the largest pipeline provider and storage tank provider in the US. Okay, at a refinery, the operator, i.e. Marathon, Exxon, Shell, or whoever, will own those facilities. But to move that product around the country or to store it at an airport, it is owned by someone else. Okay? It's as simple as that. The Sands Corp probably store their, aviation fuel in there or their Jet A fuel, and that's about it. They paid Kinder Morgan a fee to do that. If you actually go on the tanks, there actually states on there property of Kinder Morgan. Genuinely, it says property of Kinder Morgan. You look at all the signs that line the route of the pipelines there, and it says property of Kinder Morgan. The actual strip of land where most people park at night is owned by Kinder Morgan. Okay.
Well, I can probably clarify a little bit of why this is gone on a tangent. If you're standing inside Paddock's room and staring at the tanks and you started maneuvering to the right, what you're going to hit or see is Janet Airlines, and which we all know what Janet is, and then the next building is Sands. And I think that kind of got convoluted down the way, so we'll just ignore it at this point.
There's this theory that I know Mike tries to sort of not push it, but doesn't fully discredit it, about the shooter was aiming for a specific place on a tank. Okay, now let me tell you something about this, because Mike was in on a conversation with myself and another person I was interviewing, And they got a bit offended that I called the shooter an idiot in certain respects. So the shooter, once upon a time, used to work at an airport. However, that airport did not deal with the type of planes that fly in and out of Vegas. Okay, it was a small private airport, and he did it because he got cheap fuel or whatever it is for his airplane. The shooter didn't honestly know the difference between Jet A and avgas. There's two big differences. Okay, Jet A you cannot ignite easily.
Right. It's like kerosene.
It's like kerosene. It's hard to ignite. Could the shooter have done it with what he had in his room? He had tracer rounds. Were they armored piercing? Well, we don't know that because only the people that conducted the tests could tell they were armor piercing or not.
Well, even then, it wouldn't have done it. You have to atomize the actual fuel to get it to ignite.
Hit a tank, but don't forget these storage tanks are double hulled, so he had to go through 2 lots of metal to get through to the liquid. And would there be enough fuel? Would there be enough pressure in that tank? No, he was genuinely aiming at the tanks. He was basically trying to puncture a hole in them in the belief that he could explode the tanks, because he believed it was avgas.
Well, how did he shot at the tanks apparently 8 times and only hit them twice? And you've seen that from that room. Those tanks are quite large. How could he miss that many times?
Mike, but then what we've got to understand is the shooter was not a shooter. Mm-hmm. The guy, he could fire a bump stock all day long because that's quite simple. But to fire a precision shot, plus he ranged it wrong.
And he was laying across a bed.
Yeah, I mean, he ranged it. He was 400. He was 40 yards out. Okay, so his flawless shot is going to be completely wrong. Right. Then he didn't even factor in for the wind by the looks of it.
Right.
And that's why there was one of the victims was killed so far away from the venue, because genuinely the wind, as a bullet travels through the air, the wind will naturally push it off course. Mm-hmm. That's why snipers have to adjust. And on longer shots, snipers also have to, believe it or not, adjust for the curvature of the earth. Unless you're a flat earth theorist and we're all flat, so,
And the Coriolis effect.
Astro, there was a bullet trajectory sheet in his room. And if you check out it is in the evidence report. I call it a note because it was on a piece of paper, so it looked a bit like a note. And if you actually check out the distances, he was ranging from the 200 wing, not the initially he was aiming from the 200 wing, not the 100 wing. Then he overestimated the distance.
And just so everybody knows too, the that one note that was put out there that had Laura Loomer on it was not. Laura Loomer was hoodwinked on that one, and I was the one that verified that was not the information on that note was not correct. And then that was the same day that we contacted the Tony, the guy that took the cart to the room and all that other stuff. So, but yeah, that note was BS.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, I think it was plainly written out some sort of trigonometry or some crap like that. Yeah,
it was all bogus, and it turned out to be like semi gibberish at some point. So we just kind of got away from that. Tony was also the guy that stated that when Paddock was placing the order, that it sounded like he was having a fake conversation with someone in the background to justify having the order for 2 people, because there was a big brouhaha about how many people were in the room.
Okay. So when I've Mike, I've stayed at the Mandalay Bay quite frequently.
Yeah.
And that wasn't just purely and simply to get access to the floors. That was to test out all these bullshit theories. Okay. Mm-hmm. People say, well, he was mimicking people talking in the background. Actually, no, he wasn't. Because if you listen to the track, people don't realize that those room service calls are actually recorded. Mm-hmm. And there was none of this bullshit that he was trying to mimic talking to someone in the background.
Right.
So,
you got to wonder why those people make up those stories, and then, of course, the question of why did he need the cart, or how did he get the cart, and that was super simple.
Well, I found them up on my own. They said, "How many people have you got there, Mr. Bullock?" Well, 2. Could you please bring up a cart? Lo and behold, they brought. In fact, there was one room service guy who stole the cart off. He come to the door. He had all these room service orders on there. I felt sorry for him actually, because I needed the cart to measure, as you know. Right. He came to the door with the cart. He was about to give me my bags. I'm like, no, give me the cart as well. And he had like 6 bags left to carry on his own.
Well, you remember that one picture you took, the picture you took, the cart was down the hallway and it was like eerie. It was the same angle and everything.
Yeah, I mean, that really was eerie. And it was just, I was quite impressed I saw that because I was in a drunken state. I
remember that. You called me at 4 a.m. that day.
I'm friends with some of the people that I've interviewed for my book. So when I'm in Vegas, we like to meet up for drinks. Also, I find out more information. So, it's the book's going to upset some people within the community as well, because it does basically discount
that's a whole tangent there if you're reading Astros.
I'm just looking. It's like I saw someone was going on about these potential attacks that he was trying to plan in different parts of the country.
Mm-hmm.
And
like the Chicago and
listen, this guy, he could hit a fuel tank at 600 and some odd yards. But what no one's looked at is the distance between that hotel and the venue they claimed he was trying to attack. It's over 1,000 yards. Even with a bump stock, you're going to be pretty hard pressed to hit people.
Mm-hmm.
There is a reason why he was doing stuff like that. And, I'll say it, he genuinely was paranoid. That's evident. That guy was genuinely paranoid. And there's enough evidence out there to prove that. And, I know you've read the evidence, Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy was emailing his South about bump stocks and automatic fire 2 months or 3 months before the attack went down. He was doing that because in his mind, he was being watched.
Yeah.
And that's genuinely the reason he was doing it. He was using those places to see if someone was going to arrest him. The Mandalay Bay was always his target. Those are the ones were just red herrings. So if anyone was watching him, they're going to, the guy didn't even book a flight to Chicago. He just booked a hotel room.
Mm-hmm.
Now the guy had $3 million in the bank, $400 room. He's not going to lose sleep over. The Mandalay Bay was always his target. And as you know, Mike, we've had some conversations as to why.
Mm-hmm.
And people say, well, you'll never find a motive, because there's no manifesto, there's no this, and there's no that.
Yeah.
Actually, as harsh as it sounds, his manifesto was the act itself.
Mm-hmm.
And it really was. I mean, if you look at it the right way and you see all the evidence that's lined up, that's verifiable evidence, not just conspiracy theories. The guy was genuinely miffed at casino industry, the whole casino industry, and Mandalay Bay was the first one.
And plus, he was more familiar with that. I mean, if he would have done it in Reno, he would have done it at the Atlantis.
Yeah.
He's going to stay. People have a tendency when they plan out something like this of staying somewhere familiar. That way, they're not spooked, or they don't spook themselves or send someone new.
But it's not just that. I think it's when I was talking to Cial and when I was interviewing Cial for the book, and I can't remember, I think it might have been Cial. The reason he picked that venue specifically was because it was closed in, and he knew that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he knew once he started firing, it was going to be hard for people to get out of. You know, so it looks like they've all gone off on a tangent on this one, Mike.
Yeah, well, we can let them do that, and we can start shutting her down here in just a second.
Yeah.
Of course, the reason for the tanks was to corral the people back into the venue. Anyone that ran in that direction, I think we're all in agreement on that.
But also, if you hit those tanks and he would have ignited them, it was going to make one hell of a bang. So the death count would have gone up exponentially within seconds.
Right.
So, does anyone have any more questions? Yes, no, maybe, possibly, could do.
Going once. Going twice. If you have any questions, this is your chance to do it. We're going to shut this down. We're already beyond our time. Again, that picture in the background there, that is Jeff's picture, and you can barely see it, but I'm using a cursor. I can't seem to get us off to show that. But anyway.
Well, there's one. Yeah. There's one there, and there's one right there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I am too bare. My opinion on the Tannerite. Right, this guy wasn't stupid. I've always said that. Now, he had cased that joint out long enough to know if he would have stuck any of that Tannerite out, it was a good chance it would have been discovered. he took damage tannerite because he was. I mean, the guy wasn't stupid in some respects. Tannerite's are binary explosives. You need some sort of percussion to detonate it. Hence the reason you need to shoot at it, and everyone uses it for targets. And I think he was going to use it as a fail-safe, i.e. throw it over by the fuel tanks, but he genuinely couldn't hit it even if he tried because it would have been behind a wall. He couldn't put a bag on a fence because someone would have found it. You know, the security on the venue, from what I understand, was pretty good. It was bag checks. You know, he was just using it as another method to his attack. You know, I mean, they apparently found ammonium nitrate. You know?
Yeah, the black bags.
You'll be making money on $2, whatever that is. Okay. Who's seventh son, Mike?
He's another researcher / investigator / you know, just he's out there. He comes up with some interesting theories and some you know, there's quite a bit of things where people actually come up with tangible information that functions. And then you got, oh God, somebody, where's Rodney here? It says hit the background. Hang on, I'm trying to see this. Rodney Patterson's confirmed it was casino revenge. Yeah, right. That's actually the email I was going to show was the email of me being asked to talk to him. I think we've got enough tangents that we're going off into that we can do a different show, and I can do one where you guys should just say AMA, which is Ask Mike Anything instead of Ask Me Anything, Ask Mike Anything, and we can go into some of this other alternate areas. Yeah. But Mark, well, you and I talk all the time, but I greatly appreciate you coming on the show. Thanks you. A wealth of information as usual.
Yeah, so I'll send you the links to the YouTube page I've set up. So
okay, yeah, do that. And is it under your name or under the some other pseudonym or?
1 October mass shooting. Let me just have a look. Actually,
well, it already sounds long.
Yeah, it is.
You could go with like 6x6 news, and that would be better than me.
Yeah, I suggest everyone go over there and watch the video. I'll send you the link so you can start posting it around. They're really quite in depth in Campos's route, and I think it's the first person to ever actually do that, and it's the first one of being up on the 32nd floor 100 wing. So
I think Hunter and Burgundy attempted to do that, but they got spooked when they popped the door open or something. So there's some other things that happened there.
Hey, listen, the floor's open now. Anyone can go up there. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was just lucky enough to be the first to find it.
Yeah.
So yes, Cial. Hey, Cial, I tried to phone you the other day. You never returned my call. I'm upset at you. So
she was in Jamaica, man. She's down in Sandals.
I also emailed her a couple of months back and never heard anything back from her.
Yeah, she's that way. No, I'm just kidding. I'm terrible at that myself. But
all right, and well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Why did he shoot innocent people in a crowd of? Okay, let's lay it outside one more time. Listen, he was in his mind he was scammed by Mandalay Bay more than anyone else. Okay. And he wanted to make them pay. So he's devalued the plot of land across from their casino. They've lost revenue on it. They closed off an entire floor for 3 months. They closed off an entire wing for 3 years. And they've had to pay the victims. What was the final settlement, Mike?
$800 million.
$800 million. The guy's literally cost them over $1 billion. How is that not making them pay? You know, it was sick and sadistic what he did. And the casino should have been held more accountable. But unfortunately, that's the way the corporate world works. They just got very smart lawyers who now just do things. Mm-hmm. You know? So, yes, please do, Cial. So,
all right, guys. Well, that wraps it up. Mark, again, thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you very much, everyone. Okay.
Huh?
Yeah, catch you later, Mike.
Okay, catch you later. I appreciate it. And don't forget, you got that file folder there you can drop stuff into. And
I'll drop that other link to you just now.
Okay, perfect. All right, then I'll add that, folks. I'll add that to the description and that way you can just come back to here and go there, and then subscribe to that channel. So if he does any updates, you'll get that, and we will take a look at that. And I will hang around for a minute to answer some off the wall questions here, and that way you don't have to deal with it. So if anyone has any questions specific to me, then I'll try to answer those or address those at this moment. Otherwise, I'm going to shut down here because we are coming up on 3 hours now. And if I hit 4 hours, I'm supposed to go talk to a doctor, apparently. Thank you, Bear. I appreciate that. Absolutely. All right, guys. So if there's not a specific direct question, well, there it is. 1 October mass shooting exposing the lies. That's him. He logged in as that. So that's where you want to go. That very short username there. He is. He's absolutely good. He's a great guest. I remember when he first called me. He called Ramsey and then he got to me through Ramsey, and then the first conversation I had with him, I was thinking, man, here's another Yahoo, but that damn British accent, and so I had to listen to him. But yeah, I read some of your comments, Astro. I wasn't able to capture everything. I think you're either by design or not, you've mixed in some specific things that only I would know, with obviously gibberish stuff, I guess, to cover your tracks and to make it plausible deniability. So I get it. I understand. You did fine there, Mark. That's a good name. Well, I can't. The questions I would ask would. I remember when you wait. You came on the scene as Avenged Sevenfold or someone. The first time you came on here, it was a group name, if I remember correctly. My pornographic memory. I'm looking forward to that book as well, Robo. It should be pretty interesting. I think what happened was once Mark got in on the Las Vegas shooting, that it was the sheer magnitude of it, and of course the amount of planning and then the aftermath, the cover up, and various other things that came along with the territory made it a much more compelling and a larger scale than some of the other mass shootings. And I'm not trying to make one belittle the other, because I've been obviously involved in a couple of them, but Maroon 5, that's correct. But anyway, so in talking to him, I think it took on so much that it had to do its own thing. So and I can't wait to see it or to read it as well. And there is the talks of myself, obviously Eric, possibly doing a book. We're going to talk about that again this week. I'll visit with Eric, I think, on Tuesday or Wednesday. So we'll go from there. No, I get you. I understand. I wasn't questioning the Black Hat or DEF CON. You know me. I'm a gray hat, so that is in that industry, people know what that means and whatnot. So anyway, Onion Turber isn't mocking me. No, I'm not. There's a hidden, and let me explain this, Alan, a little bit. There's a different way that hackers / crypto / clandestine community kind of talks, because we can all be having a conversation, and I can be having a completely different I could be having a completely different conversation with him during a full-on conversation with everyone else, and only he would get it, and no one would be the wiser. I'm not talking about like hidden innuendo kind of speak or what have you. We're talking about like full-on conversations. And and that's something that someone that worked for the State Department would probably need to acquire. I have to pull your SF-86 form, and I want to pull. There's a few people I want to pull their SF-86s, but I think Hillary Clinton would be one. I'd like to have that one. Anyway, so I'm going to shut her down. Tara, you can't. I didn't see you earlier. If you just got in here, I apologize. Mark's gone, but definitely watch this. Some information came out that, some information has been dabbled on before, but his book is probably going to go into some areas, hopefully, that he and I are aware of, that is very frustrating to not be able to say some of the things and that we want to say. A couple of you may have an inkling of what I'm talking about, but it gets very frustrating for you guys because we have to go and speak about a certain subject, and while we're talking about that subject, the other area of knowledge that we know is made known, and then we can't expand on it, and that's very frustrating for us because we want all that out there, but there's a lot of reasons why you can't, and that'll make sense sometime down the road. You're welcome, Tara. I can't see. I got some upload background screen come up. Anyway, so I appreciate everybody. If you have any questions that I don't address here or haven't addressed, or maybe I missed or whatever, ask them in the comments after this post, and I'll try to come back to them. I don't know who would have left the continent, but anyway, I'm going to shut it down, guys. So I'm going to quit saying I'm going to, and I'm actually going to. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. Please, if you have not done so, please give us a thumbs up. It does help. I'm not monetized. It doesn't help me get money or anything like that, but it does help the channel a little bit because obviously when you lose a channel and you have to rebuild the channel, any help will benefit the channel, and I appreciate that. I'll let the chat go on for just a minute. I'm going to kill my feed. You guys can talk for just a moment. Thank you very much for dropping by. I'm Mike Turber, and I'm out.